Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the British GT Esports Cup 2024. My name is Luke Crane. I will be one of your commentators for this series, and I'm also joined by Ewan O'Leary. How you doing, mate? You all good?
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to a great season and a great place to start here at Oulton Park as well.
Yeah, it certainly is a great place to start. It looks nice and sunny there. I can assure you, in the actual session, it isn't like that. It is very, very moist indeed. But I hope I find you well wherever you're watching from around the world. We've got plenty of racing action coming up for you over the next few weeks and months. But let's go and check out the calendar for this season. So we have got a different format pretty much every single week. So something to get your teeth into, and especially for the drivers, it makes it a little bit more difficult each week to kind of challenge themselves. So in week one, which is happening today, Oulton Park is the venue, and we've got 2 times 1 hour races. Each race will have a 10-minute mandatory pit stop window, and they have to refuel the car. We will then head in February the 10th to the Silverstone 500, 1 times 3 hour race. Then in February the 17th, we've got a 1 times 2 hour race at Donington Park, maybe the best racetrack in the world. Then we head to Spa-Francorchamps on March the 2nd for 1 2-hour race. Then we head to Snetterton, where we've got 2 times 1 hour races on March the 9th. And then to finish the things off, we've got 1 times 2 hour race. It's difficult for me to read at this point. Brands Hatch, March the 16th. So Ewan, that is a lot to digest there.
It is 6 rounds, and which is not the most, but as you say, it's all different formats every time, which makes things very difficult. And there's different things to contend with within those races as well. I'm sure we'll get into what's on here for Oulton Park as well, because yeah, it's something a little bit different every time. So we're going to see 2 races here today, 2 1-hour races, and that's going to keep things interesting with 2 classes that we've got as well, as you can see on the right hand side.
Yeah, making it a little bit simple for you guys at home. We've got 6 rounds, 8 races, GT3 only. We have a Pro class and an AM class. The Pro class will be white boxes with their race number in the timing tower, and the AM class will be a red box with their race number in. There's mixed race formats, which I've just discovered, just told you there. We have live stewarding as well, so we will see penalties fly on the screen, especially around some of these British circuits. It's so tight, it's tight as a tiger out there. And then we have a custom BOP as well to keep things nice and fair. So that's going to be pretty cool, Ewan.
It is, and looking forward to this because yeah, it's something a little bit different, as we've mentioned, especially with the calendar. Every round is a little bit different, and that is going to make things very interesting indeed. 2 classes within just the GT3s as well, which makes things possibly complicated for us to work out, which I'm sure it will be at the end of the season, but that's fine. We get lots of different things to focus on. The fact we've got 2 races here tonight as well, I think is going to keep things very fresh for us, keep things exciting around a circuit that can produce some very single-file racing on occasion.
100%, and with the weather that we've seen already in the practice session, which was completely wet, I've not seen exactly what's happened in qualifying, so maybe it's completely changed. Who knows? We're about to transition over to there anyway. Yeah, keep yourself between the mayo and the mustard, as they say in America. Keep yourself between the white lines, and you are going to be absolutely golden. But let's head then to the final parts of qualifying and check out exactly what is going on at Oulton Park. Oh, it looks like they're gridding. So we've got a little bit more time to wait here, and then we're going to be getting ready for the actual race. So no time to mess about. No time to mess about today, Ewan.
No, we've had qualifying then for the opening round, and just to explain what that will have been like, because obviously we didn't see it, 20 minutes for the session as a whole, but 10 minutes for each class. So the AM and Pro drivers will have been separated out there, which is probably a good idea, especially around here. It's not the longest circuit in the world, not the widest, not the biggest. So it's probably best to split up the field. That's what we've done, 10 minutes each, and that has set the grid to what we're about to see.
Here we go then. It is wetter than an otter's pocket here at Oulton Park. We've got plenty of time before the session does indeed begin. And as I was saying, some of the AMs are as quick as the pros. And right now, Kieran Prendergast, who is racing in the AMs, is P1.
Yeah, good start for him in the AMs ahead of the likes of Smith and Warner and Luciano Vitvert, who I've not seen a lot of on ACC, but clearly he's done okay to get onto the second row. But it's very much a mixing of pros and AMs at the front and all the way through, actually.
Yeah, two Brabham cars on the front row as well. They are teammates, so pros and AMs can team up with each other. It's a case of they have to send a nice Discord message to each other and go, look, would you want to be my teammate? Would you like to be my friend for the season? And lots of these drivers have managed to find themselves a friend, and that's how the prize pool will be dealt out. So in this championship, they can win themselves some pretty cool prizes. You can get yourself, hospitality seats for the British GT. You can get yourself, if you're, winning these championships, also a grid walk. You can then just get hospitality for finishing in second, and if you finish in third position, you will get yourself tickets to the British GT. So there's plenty of opportunities to get involved in racing. If you want to get yourself involved with the Motorsport UK British Esports Championships, then you can indeed get a membership. It's £24.99. Not only will that give you access to pretty much every single championship that they do produce, but also it gives you some discounts with some of their partners as well. So yeah, pretty good value for money. We're getting a lovely pan shot here. Wet weather, Ewan, something that we don't very often see within sim racing. Of course, ACC, we can have any weather, but it's quite rare that we see rain in sim racing. So this is going to provide an incredible challenge for these drivers.
It is quite rare, especially depending on which simulator you drive, of course. Here on ACC, it's done very well, and it gives us quite a good idea of what we're going to see as well very often over the course of these races. Is it going to dry out over the course of today? Maybe. We just don't know for the moment. And yeah, it's very synonymous with Oulton Park as well, I suppose. Fits in very well. And so I'm looking forward to this, seeing how it pans out. It does seem, though, that the Aston Martin and the Mercedes are the cars to have. Not sure whether that's a Oulton Park thing or a wet weather thing, because I know historically the Aston Martin has been pretty good in the wet weather, or very good, probably, to be more accurate. So the fact that the top 16 places are covered by those two manufacturers says a lot about where we are in that qualifying session.
Yeah, it feels like 2021 on ATC, where if it rained, if you weren't in an Aston Martin, you didn't really stand much of a chance. But with a custom BOP, now ultimately, it does become a bit more about the driver. So, yeah, the front three have performed pretty well. Prendergast, Smith, Warner, those are three names that are pretty synonymous with ACC esports at the top level. But as you will see down the list, there are so many new names. This is this is aimed towards a more community level, this championship, and some of the names I've never ever come across before. So we're going to definitely unearth some superstars over the course of this championship. We've also got some drivers that are from across the pond, Ryan Woodrow being one of them. He has been a North American champion on ACC on multiple different competitions. So expecting to see him do well, but he's managed to pay for his entry fee. He's managed to get the membership for the Motorsports UK, and he is golden. He is on P7 as it stands. We're on board though with our P1, which is Kieran Prendergast. We've got 10 seconds before they embark upon one formation lap here. You asked Ewan, is the weather going to maybe dissipate, or are we going to see it dry up? By the looks of things, probably not.
Looks not hopeful for those that want a dry race for the moment, as Kieran Prendergast is going to get us underway from the front here, and there we go, off of the line now. So he will lead the field around, but yeah, it's not looking hopeful in terms of this wet weather and drying out. I mean, I think it does say a lot about where these cars are. The fact, by the way, as well, that Bobby Trundley is down in 17th position in the McLaren here. I think the Aston Martin and the Mercedes certainly have taken to this wet weather very well indeed, because Trundley down in 17th is had experience in the real life British GT, certainly not a slow driver by any means, so to be down in 17th is a bit of a surprise and maybe says a lot about those cars.
Yeah, I think it also will say a lot about the standard we have here. As much as it's aimed towards the community, the level of driver at the top end on ACC spans, nearly into the thousands, I would say. So sort of we're looking at, a fair few hundred top-tier drivers. And as much as this, again, they are community-level drivers, or there's AMs and pros. These are all pretty accomplished within ACC. You'd expect to see these in most top-tier community events out there, which are happening aplenty around the world. So Kieran Prendergast then will take us on this formation lap. Again, a bit of a scout to see where puddles are, try and figure out exactly where you can gain time or maybe even lose time. And ironically, it's as wet over the tree line there as it is on track.
Yeah, which is abnormal, but these things happen in sim racing, and it's going to have to be contended with by everybody here over the course of the entire race. How difficult is that going to make things on tyres as well? We know they've got a mandatory pit stop. We're wondering between ourselves about whether changing tyres is going to be worth it at all or not. You said to me earlier that it's probably not worth it, but I wonder what the wet weather does to that and whether it changes it or makes it even more of a straightforward call.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense. I think the refueling is going to be a case of 1 litre. So, yeah, the loss of time they would have putting tyres on would be too significant, in my opinion. But there might be some people out there that try and make a fruity little change, and they might feel that they're going to be a lot faster come the second stint. Who knows? But I'm seeing a lot of people over on Twitch, guys. Let me know who you're supporting. Seeing a lot of support there for the Own It racing teams as well. SGSS is getting a lot of support as well. But yeah, let me know where you're watching from around the world, and also get yourself involved as to which driver, maybe which team you are supporting. Just a couple of corners to go here, then, Ewan. Any predictions from you?
I think it's going to be a difficult race. I think we're going to see people off the road. It's going to be my my prediction of the day. Not a groundbreaking one, I admit, but I'm going to say probably going to be true, given the conditions and the circuit, which is difficult within itself.
Okay, well, I'm going to predict someone outside the top 10 is going to win this race. That's my prediction. I think it's going to be maybe a bit of a cluster. As we head into the final corner, then, it will be Kieran Prendergast that will be taking us away. I'm surprised we've not seen Kieran's dad in the chat. He tends to be watching, so that's always good to see. But we're heading across the line now. We've got 1 hour of racing. That's at the top of your screen, which you can see. And, well, it says we're at 4:45 p.m. in the afternoon, which is pretty much bang on where we are in real life as well. Across the line we go, and we are green light racing here as we see an absolute send up the inside from Warner. Makes it 3 wide, 3 Astons into 1. Doesn't normally work, but actually they've got through there relatively well. Elvin Smith, though, is going to be furious with how that's gone down. And, well, Warner has made up a position here already. Lovely job.
Yeah, that was very close, but between those two and very close to contact. Warner diving down the inside 3 wide, and it nearly turned out badly. Look at the spray as well. You cannot see very much, so goodness knows what it's like back in 20th, 30th position in this field at the moment. Difficult conditions to start this race, but for the most part, everybody's got through well, apart from the 28 car of Turner, who I saw off the road, and we've got a Mercedes off now too.
Yeah, that is not good. Yeven Seiko off the circuit. There's a Lamborghini in the background there as well. They were actually P40, I think, anyway. But yeah, a couple of casualties, but for the most part, that is a very, very clean start to this race. Heading down towards turn number 10, and then they'll head through Knickerbrook, and Warner has done very well. And there he goes, first lap. How long did it take? That's going to damage these cars, by the way. That will damage the cars behind. But normally we have a bingo as to how many laps that's going to take, or a sweepstake. You see it being punted in the background. Well, it took half a lap. It's gone.
It's gone on the first passage through Knickerbrook. I think it was Luciano Vipert, by the way, who will have shoved it with the front end of his Mercedes. Let's hope that he hasn't picked up anything major as a result of that, because it's a fairly heavy tyre bundle that he drove straight head into. We didn't really have a choice, to be fair, but still.
Yeah, does he want to pick up anything more major than the tyre wall? He always carried it down the straight. We go across the line then. Warner is in second spot. He momentarily had the fastest lap. We can ignore that though for the time being. That will be beating. There's lots of cars that are now going faster and faster and faster. But Prendergast has had a phenomenal starter here. And although Warner was battling with Smith on that first lap, Warner looks very quick here, by the way. Seeing a bit of battling in the background then. Stephen Bain for On It. You can see that purple livery being overtaken there by Tomlinson. Was that Tomlinson? Sorry, no. I think it's Sudakar who's made a mistake, and now he's actually re-recovered in all fair. So he's got back ahead.
Maybe got back ahead, or maybe just defending, but that could be short-lived now as Bain gets down the inside. Wow, that's close. Very fast left-hander, of course, difficult anyway, and the two of them very nearly made contact, but Bain is now through into 11th position, and now Van Veen looking to go past Tomlinson as he just got caught up behind there in the one car. They go sideways into the chicane, and that was a nice move. Good opportunistic driving there from Marijn Van Veen.
Yeah, Van Veen and Mander's getting involved there as well. Tomlinson involved, but Bain making a lovely move. It's just very difficult to make a move through the island bend. It's almost impossible, actually. I wouldn't suggest it. And ultimately, they all get through there nicely. I think the driving standard, and yeah, dare I say it, I think it's been absolutely exceptional to start off things off here. As I say that, someone slides off the exit state. Oh no, there's another Aston off the circuit as well. So as soon as I mentioned that there's been perfect driving standards, you see a couple of cars facing the wrong way.
It's always the way. Grant, it was who eventually turned up off the road, but it was initially Manders who really got very sideways on the exit of the chicane there, and unfortunately it wasn't him who was the one spinning around and feeling the consequences of it. Now Warner's under severe pressure from Elvin Smith, and into turn one. That's quite a dive, too much of a dive I would hesitate to say, and he's gone deep into the first turn. There's more contact between the two of them. We're only 5 minutes into the season and they've hit each other at least twice. Yeah,
Elvin Smith there trying to make a move through turn number one, doesn't quite work out, and ultimately there was nobody home. I think Warner read that situation and just got on the brakes a little bit earlier and figured, yep, you can overextend through that corner. Big winner this situation is our race leader now, 2.1 seconds up the road. Kieran Prendergast. You've got Luciano Whitbert, who is very close in behind us. You see ascend. Oh no, Elvin Smith flashing the lights to say, I guess, sorry. Maybe I'm going to let you continue. But yeah, not ideal in these conditions. But now Luciano Whitbert moves up a position, well, moves up 2 spots into second, and we've also knocked Clarkson up into third position to Elvin Smith and Warner after doggedly battling. Unfortunately, they both lose 2 spots.
And despite the fact the two Mercedes are in very similar liveries, they're not quite teammates. They are on the same team of World of Racing, but they're not actual teammates in this series. Clarkson is a teammate with Ryan Woodrow, who's in 8th place at the moment, and Clarkson up there in 3rd place. Whitbert is a teammate with Cody Cosford, who I can't see in the field at the moment. Oh yeah, down in 17th position, so those two separated by quite a few more cars right now.
Yeah, Wyan doing pretty well down in P8 there, sandwiched between a few AM cars. You've got Machkowski ahead, you've got Paduano in behind him, and Delanga in 10th position. So actually top 10 as it stands. I'll read it out once again. Prendergast is in P1, Whitford's up to P2, Clarkson, P3, Warner is in P4, but they've got Smith, we've got Erdman, we've got Machkowski, we've then got Woodrow, we've got Paduano, and we've got Delanga as your top 10. And it's 5 all, isn't it? 5 AMs and 5 pros in the top of this, and someone's just very appropriately pointed out, it's very strange to see SRO drivers running as AM. Well, you know, it is what it is. It's simple as that. It's nice to see both classes mixing it with each other. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's good to have. It's sometimes weird when you see them all separated like very properly. It's a bit odd, but yeah, it's how the system works, and so that's how we've got it. I think Chris Warner's been shoved around again, by the way, there through the hairpin. This is what happened on lap number 1, though, with the Mercedes just going a bit too wide there, trying to give a bit too much space on lap 1.
That's really kind of him. Really nice of him. Didn't work out for himself, but yeah, he's just trying to give a bit too much space there, be nice and kind, and ultimately went off and mowed the lawn. And as you know, Ewan, you shouldn't mow your lawn in these conditions.
No, you'll break your lawnmower or something.
Something.
Is that true? But anyway, I don't even know. So yeah, it's you're not going to be able to recover very easily. Is the point really when you're out there, whether it's for a proper spin or you're just running wide, you're going to be skating and sailing off through the wet grass, as we know. And by the way, as I mentioned, Warner has not been spun around, but he certainly has gone wide, because he's let 5 cars through on this lap.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's not, waved the white flag. No, you can have these positions, guys. I fancy making some overtakes. I would imagine he's been helped there or made a mistake. So yeah, Warner down to P9. That means Elvin's moved up into P4. Erdman's up to 5th. We've got Machkowski. We've got Woodrow, Paduano, Warner, as we just mentioned, and then Delanga as your top 10 and 9/10 level. We've got Bain, we've got Sudhaka, Tomlinson, Van Veen, Manders, Trunley. Cosford, we've already picking up a 15-second time penalty, by the way, which is quite impressive. Just got Farrell down there with a 5-second time penalty. I'm sure, I guess we're going to be told what these penalties are for at some point, but yeah, you can see they're being added pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll let you know when they come through as to what that was for. That was very wide for the Mercedes we were following briefly. This is back in the pack where some of these penalties have been dished out. Ryan Davies, one of the pros who's stuck in a sea of AMs right now, looking to get past Kurnos for 23rd position overall next. But don't forget, there's no real points gain when you overtake an AM and you're a pro driver. The scoring system allows the classes to be scored separately, so it doesn't gain you any points. It just gets you closer to those who maybe you can gain points from.
Ryan Davies there, nearly making friends with the Lamborghini. Also making friends with it once again in the nicest way possible. Kurnos just about keeping the car ahead there. To see then another BMW battling with an Aston Martin a bit further back. We've got Lauren Grant giving it some beans, battling for a top 25. And then we've got a McLaren a little bit further back. Then we've got Mack in P27 as it stands. I reckon we should play a game in the chat, guys. So obviously we're not going to get the instant what the penalties are for. Oh, so that's a shortcut taken by a BMW and a Porsche. That's quick, guys. That is probably the quickest line through that chicane. Unfortunately, you will have to give that time.
Yeah, it's quickest but also illegal, so they're going to have to slow down for that one in a moment. But yeah, it's a difficult chicane. It's still very wet down there, and it will remain so as well.
Oh, McLaren! I think I might have taken the BMW. No, we're all good. McLaren there, nearly taking the BMW out, but we're all good. We're all facing in the right direction. I apologise for that noise I just made. Can't explain exactly what it was, but it was something. So you see a bit of side-by-side action now coming around the final corner, and you see the aquaplaning there of the Aston Martin. You've got the McLaren there that's being tie-dyed by the looks of things. That's the sort of clothing I used to wear back in the day. And I'm not sure the outside line through turn one is the quickest. I was seeing cars spinning left, right, and centre, or half spinning, should I say? And yeah, this is action everywhere.
It is, and it's a legacy of the wet weather conditions also combined with this circuit. That was a bit wide from Farrell, who's already, Max Farrell here, who we're following with, he's already got a 5-second penalty, and he might be able to be overtaken here by Draper. It very nearly was at the final corner, but the two made contact, he held on. Now surely he won't be able to hang on into the hairpin at the bottom of the course. This is Cello's corner, right round the outside for Draper, and that was a very nice move indeed. Now it's banked round there, and it does help you up top, but still a very impressive move.
I tell you what, this race is sponsored by Oprah Winfrey right now because everybody's getting a penalty. I just spotted 6 in total out there on circuit. At this point, if you've not got a penalty, you're going to start to feel left out. Luciano Whitver, we're on board now in P2 in that number 12 car. Currently the lead pro in terms of the pro championship, now sandwiched between 2 AMs. And right up the road is Kieran Prendergast, so 4 seconds up with the advantage right now. Kieran Prendergast is a bit of a rain specialist, actually. I've commentated on many a time, and he seems to bring his absolute best when it is moist conditions, which we're seeing right now being proven. Although Elvis Smith's got a 5-second penalty, so I'm sure that might have something to do with why Warner down at P9.
I think so. We didn't actually see the incident, but based on the fact there was contact before, unless he got 5 seconds for the contact where he gave the place back anyway, because sometimes you do get punished for that, even if you give the position back or not. We'll see if that is the case.
Like, chat should get involved as well. Like, obviously, we don't find out instantly what the penalties are for, so maybe in the chat, guys, you can tell us what you think the penalties are for. So I think Elvin has got that penalty because he did not provide biscuits for everybody on the grid for the race.
Game's ruined.
And here we go. So we've got 5 seconds for contact with number 9. That's for car 21, which is Farrell. Car number 27, which is Cosford. He's got a 15-second penalty for contact with the number 802. So that suggests that there was more than just contact. To be fair, if you get 15 seconds, we've got number 9 getting a 5-second penalty with contact with the number 19. It's a Porsche there, just chilling and looking at the scenery in the kitchen litter. And then for car number 15, a 5-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin. And as you can see on your screens, there are many more penalties. I'm sure we're going to get that.
No!
BMW now taking the faster route through the first class chicane.
That was not a good line for, it was Davies, it was in the 92. He knew he was getting it wrong, tried to avoid hitting the thing stopping you from cutting the chicane there, but got on the grass and spun straight into, well, not into the wall exactly, but certainly off to the side of the road. So what a bizarre start to this race, especially outside the top 20. So many penalties for those guys further back. And Clark, by the way, was the Porsche who was off the road at the hairpin, turn 5, earlier on, where you were running down the penalties there. He's also got a drive-through penalty. Not sure where that's come from.
Well, not ideal. We're going to get to see exactly what happened here. BMW went, nope, we'll take the faster route. Yeah, we're good, we're going to save it. Nope, no, facing the wrong way. That's not ideal. Let's get the power down, facing the right way, we're all good. And we continue like nothing happened. We just had Prendergast, by the way, come up to lap traffic, which is not ideal when you're on lap 7, and he would have been petrified by that, thinking, what have they done wrong? Do they have damage? Or is that just genuine pace? So yeah, that's less than ideal, although the Lambo now is getting out of the way of the next group of cars. But ridiculous. Look how many penalties there are. And they will have to serve this in the pit stop phase, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, if they receive a penalty before a mandatory stop, which will open, I believe, 25 minutes into the session, and then it will close 25 minutes into the end. Yeah, they have to serve that time penalty, so they'll be held before they can do refueling. If they get a penalty after a pit stop, it will be added to their race time.
Yes, so no need to come in and do a stop-go unless it will specify whether it's a stop-go on the left-hand side for penalties. Here's some more. Number 21 car, that's Farrell with 5 more seconds for contact with the number 20, which itself has got 5 seconds for contact with Farrell, so those two have clearly been at each other. And the 5 and the 4 have been at each other as well. That's Elvin Smith's contact with Warner, which we suspected.
Yeah, Warner's actually dropped down a couple of spots again as well. He's now down to P11. So, yeah, not the most ideal of starts, but penalties absolutely everywhere. And look at this. A bit of a mistake there from Klaassen. Could quite easily have run off the circuit there entirely. Luckily, he managed to keep it on. But if you run off line now around here, because you see there's, I say a dry line. There is a drier line, or a less wet line, I guess would be the more appropriate term, forming here at Oulton Park. If you get off that line now, especially in braking, you could be into some serious trouble. If you're trying to rotate the car and brake offline, this is where you can, hemorrhage time or even run off the circuit. So right now, you just got to concentrate, get yourself to that pit stop phase, and just try and be in a pretty handy position.
Yeah, that's what you've got to do for now. We're already a quarter of an hour into this race, and just staying on the road has been a pretty key point of doing well so far. It's been a race of survival. Wet weather has caused carnage, certainly down the back of the field, and so just avoiding all of that has served, especially those two Mercedes in second, third, served them very well, actually. They've not done anything special. I don't even think either of them have made an overtake so far, but they've just gravitated towards the top, risen to the top because of people going off in front of them.
Hey, I'll take that all day. If my partner's not watching, I'll go and tell the wife, I made loads of overtakes today. I started P10 and I finished at P2, so I made at least 8. She didn't see it. That's how I'll be going for. But yeah, you're probably right a little bit.
I mean, we haven't seen it all, but I'm imagining that's how it's gone down, as the 802 also of Grant gets 10 seconds worth of penalty for contact with the number 30 car, and then the number 9 and 19 have been into some sort of contact as well over the course of the race. That's Mac down in 23rd, who has got some more seconds added to his pit stop.
Thought you were malfunctioning there, Ewan. But we're having issues. I have just had word from the race director and the stewards. They actually now have just ordered a new keyboard from Amazon. Apparently they've run out of tapping of the buttons.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they've got a fair amount of penalties here. Again, I feel like if you haven't got one, you've kind of got to fight hard. We've got
to, you've got to presume it's about a third of the field at this stage. I mean, we can see 6 of them, and we can't even see the bottom 10 of the field. So I'm going to presume, yeah, we're at least a third of the field in penalty land, unfortunately, early on.
Yeah, well, anyone who's not got a penalty is going to, especially if you're outside the top 23, you're more than likely going to gain a fair chunk of spots. So we're on board with Elvin Smith. Then he was right up the old exhaust pipe of Klaassen very earlier on in the last lap. Yeah, he was very, very close behind Klaassen, but unfortunately he's got back a little bit. So I thought he might make a move for that top 3, not quite close enough now. Whitford's got a bit of breathing room. Whitford is actually starting to close the gap down to Kieran Prendergast. Prendergast was over 4 seconds ahead. There's been no back markers for them to contend with here, so I think Whitford may have just found a little bit of form.
Maybe. I mean, it's a bit of a surprise, I've got to be honest. I thought Prendergast, with that kind of lead, would be able to march on and continue extending the gap right to the end of the race, actually, but clearly he's not quite having that time of things. He's still driving well, of course, and still holds a 4-second lead, which is impressive in itself, but even so, I would expect him to continually increase that despite the conditions and everything else that's gone on so far in the race, and the lap traffic and everything else that he's got to contend with. But for now, Whitford's doing a very good job. He's got Klaassen behind. I think the one he's got to worry about really is Elvin Smith, because Smith has got a penalty to serve. That means that the sitting around and waiting for later doesn't really apply to him, and he'll want to make these places up on the Mercedes, which of course he lost those places in the opening laps by getting a bit over ambitious into the hairpin.
Yeah, Warner, by the way, has moved up a position now back into the top 10, so he's starting to make his way through once again. There we go. Yeah, he's now sandwiched between those 2 purple cars. One's a little bit more purpley than the other, but they're both purple in my eyes. So yeah, Warner looking to try and make his move back up the back, and I guess he's going to be pretty angry with how things look at the start. He made a really good start, and maybe a slightly over-aggressive start, but managed to get himself up to P2. But ultimately, he's now falling down the pack. Has the rain stopped here? Like, I know the windscreen wipers are on, but that's because of the spray of the car in front. I think the rain stopped here.
It seems, yeah.
Maybe starting to get towards dry weather.
Maybe. It seems to have just slightly lessened in intensity, if anything. But it's very difficult to see rain sometimes on a yeah, this looks pretty dry, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's maybe still raining a little bit. As you can see, the leader, or Prendergast, he would be sure not using the windscreen wiper to see that in front. So, but yeah, for me, that dry line is definitely starting to appear, isn't it? And this makes things very, very interesting because the pit window is about to open in about 6 minutes' time. So I assume that means everybody stays out as late as they can to make that decision as to whether it might be dry enough to go onto the old dry rubber.
Well, yeah, or do we end up seeing 2 pit stops today if it dries out in the last 10-15 minutes?
Oh, don't tease me,
Is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's going to be the debate later on, as we've got blue flags again here. One of the Porsches, I think that's Clark, having to get out of the way of everybody battling for second place, although it seems this battle has got a bit closer as a result of that lap traffic.
Yeah, Erdmann lost out big time there. He went through that chicane side by side with the Porsche at the back, so he was just creeping up onto the back of this pack. Now the gap is, oh no, sorry, Erdmann's a bit further back. So that Aston Martin, sorry, that's Machikowski. My bad, yeah, Machikowski P5 currently. He's now starting to creep up onto the back of this pack, hasn't he? So that's another factor we've got to bring into consideration. Setups, Ewan. A lot of these drivers would have set up specifically for the rain. You know, is there anyone that's gone out there conservative thinking it might go dry? We've got a replay here. So this is, I think, Warner. Warner was P10. He's looking to go up in towards P9. He's got the Mercedes in front of him. As there's a little, I think you'll find there might be a little red number appearing next to Warner's name.
I think so. That was Renda de Lange who he spun around. Yeah, Renda Lange of Orion Racing Team, as you can see, with the rather bright purplish Mercedes. It went unfortunately spinning into the grass. He's now 13th in the race in that Mercedes, but at least still in the race. But yeah, that's surely going to be another penalty. Cosford must have got more penalties, by the way, in the 27 car. He's now 14th, but with a 20-second penalty. That wasn't there earlier.
No, it's just, I think Cosford's going for the record. Just going, do you know what? It's kind of dry through out there, but I want the biggest time. Right now you're winning, so congratulations, Cosford. If that's what you put on your social media later on, you are the winner as it stands. The way the race has been going so far, I'm sure there'll be people challenging you along the way. Ryan Woodrow was trying to take full advantage of the back marker there, the Porsche, and try and make a move on Erdmann, and then just got offline ever so slightly. We've got some race control penalties again. 27, 5-second penalty for contact with 37. Car 27 is Cosford, and then we've got the number 4, 5 seconds contact with number 23. Car number 5 is Elvin Smith. So is that another penalty?
Again?
Yeah. Was that the same? It's not been added yet.
No, that's definitely what I've seen. I've seen 2 penalties for him now, definitely, and he's only got 1 there. So there must be something else coming up there. Unless that was the 4 car, and that was Warner's penalty that's just been added, is it? Or is that? Maybe that was different. But anyway, more penalties added. Cosford's next or latest penalty, I should say, was for hitting Bobby Trundley in the McLaren, the best placed of the non-Mercedes or Aston Martins. Trundley, of course, a driver in the real world British GT and has been for a few years now, although I think started out in the GT4 class, which is of course not present in this season.
Yeah, you can see now drivers are starting to run off line across the straights here. That's because they want to keep the temperature down in the tyre, don't want to overheat, which again suggests to me that this track is definitely drying out. The pit window is going to open in the next 2.5 minutes. This will be a very interesting 10-minute period of pit window, because some drivers are going to decide to just stay on the same tyres, and there's going to be others that might, if you're sort of 20 seconds off the lead maybe, and you think there's a chance that this is going to be dry enough to contend at the end of the race and, you know, not have to make 2 stops, you might try and go onto the dry tyres right at the end of the pit window. Again, it's definitely not dry enough right now. I'm not trying to say it's dry enough right now, but there is definitely decisions to be made.
There are, and I think you can even condense that comment a little bit to say it's not going to be 10 minutes of excitement in this pit window. It's going to be about 4 or 5 at the very end of it, where it's all the excitement is going to be. I reckon everyone could be piling in on the last or second to last lap of this pit window, because of course if you leave it too late, then that's going to be a penalty in itself. And the orange box on the left-hand side there with the number 1 in it will still be there. if you don't serve your pit stop in that period of time. So you've got to do it within those 10 minutes, which makes this equation very tricky indeed, and makes this whole mandatory pit stop worth it. Wow, that was interesting.
Yeah, that Lambo just came out the pits there and just decided, you know what, I'm going to rejoin for the lead. Why not? Hey, I want to feel like I'm in the lead. This will be fun. And, well, very nearly wiped everybody out. But luckily, everyone read the situation well enough, and we are good to go. So this is Machkowski, who's currently running in P5. Oh, off we go. So there's Klaassen off the circuit there. Oh, he just rejoins. Oh, Conor Maddox will be furious about that. But yeah, he just about gets through, and he's all good as a McLaren now with the tie-dye livery coming back on the circuit. That is troubling. Yeah, struggling with the conditions. And everyone in the chat, let us know. Do you think at any point there will be drivers on slick tyres in this race?
I think I'm going to say yes. Well, I'm not in the chat, but anyway, I've answered anyway. So yeah, Klaassen off the road in from 3rd place. Where's he going to drop to? About 5th, I think, with Elvin Smith having gone through along with Krzysztof Machkowski. And this is a nightmare situation for Kieran Prendergast as well. We just joined with him now in the lead of this race. When you're the leader in this situation, you never really know what to do, because ideally you want to kind of go with the pack if you're elsewhere in the field. Kind of want to go with what everyone else is doing just to be on the safe side, but he can't be on the safe side. He's the first driver going past pit lane every time.
Yeah, we saw it quite famously a couple of years ago at the Hungaroring, where Lewis Hamilton was leading a race and everybody decided to pit behind him, and then had a re-race start after a red flag, and the only one on the grid. Here's Klaassen's little trip off to the right-hand side. Oh, he just over-rotates the car. Quite simply, turns a little bit too much. And luckily, he's all good. Just got to avoid that wall. To be fair, that's some recovery to get through that gap there. I'm telling you now, that's a very simple gap.
Yeah, it's like one of those rally stages where they place bales in the road, isn't it, to just slow you down a bit. It was quite impressive, actually, on dry tyres in a GT3 car to just slalom through there on wet grass. But he's done it, and he's still 5th. So fair play to him for that, as Prendergast has more lap traffic to deal with, and this is going to be the story of the day, maybe the story of the season. British tracks don't tend to be that long.
No, they are very, very short, and there's not normally much room to manoeuvre. I guess Silverstone's the only one. That would be a place that you're likely to make overtakes. We've also got Spa-Francorchamps on the grid, on the calendar. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to be tough to make moves without losing any time. There's Tomlinson then, looking to try and make a move on Manders. Just struggled to make anything kind of work around the outside there. As we head then in towards the Shell Oil corner, the hairpin. Camber there, you can run out wide, you can be on the inside, and you don't really lose too much time to competitors. As you can see though, just up ahead, Manders is trying to also get the temperature in those tyres down. You can tell he's struggling with the tyres, and that will be temperature based. He's trying to get into the wet stuff as best he possibly can, but also defend from the car behind. A very tough proposition.
It is, and of course on ACC as well. I think this is the thing that ACC does best out of any of the simulators around at the moment, is the sort of going to the wet patches to dry your to cool your tyres. The sort of phenomenon of that and the ability to do that in ACC is a lot better in here than it is in any other simulator, in my opinion. So that's very effective, and what you have to do, and you'll start to see that, and you already can. As a Lamborghini spun off in the background, that's an extreme version, but the wet patches are starting to become fewer and further between, and I reckon by the end of this pit window we could see some gamblers on the slick tyres.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Oh, we see a potential move there from Elvin Smith. This is for Peter using the traffic, and there's a little bit of nudge there. Not sure there's much he could have done actually to avoid that situation. Ultimately, he gets the car up ahead, and job isn't good until Luciano Whitford drops down. I don't think he could have expected that car on the outside there to be that slow. So it would have been a really good move if that back marker wasn't on the outside. You see that Porsche again in the same place. No rejoin. Oh, he's taken out the Aston Martin. He's taken out another Aston Martin. Are we about to take out the Mercedes as well, just for the fans? Oh, nearly does. And yeah, it's going from bad to worse for that number 30.
It is, and that's very scary for everyone filtering past as well. Victor goes through, and so does Machkowski, who's flashing the lights furiously on the way up the hill towards Druids Corner, and through there now. He's finally got past, but he's allowed Klaassen to catch up all over again as they get to the end of another lap. That wasn't the leader coming in, that was someone else, and it looks like the leaders are staying out. In fact, the top 13 still have yet to make their stop.
Yeah, they were staying out until the last possible opportunity to leave as well. There's a few people hit a bit further down. They'll definitely be on wet tyres. I don't think anyone would gamble to go on dry tyres.
No one?
I don't think anybody would have gambled to go on to dry tyres.
Okay.
It's just there's no actual dry part of the circuit yet.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking, well, I agree. I just think someone would be willing to just go all out. This is what happened to the Porsche, by the way, which we're not going to enjoy this. Oh, no, no, no. Well, that wasn't good.
He's tried to make the chicane after he missed it.
Yeah.
You
might as well go straight on at that point.
Yeah, well, you might as well wait till the next lap to try and make it, really. Ultimately, yeah, I'm not too sure who's driving the number 30. In my entry list there, I don't actually have the numbers of the car on my list, though, so we'd actually have to be on board with them to see exactly who it was. Unfortunately, because they're right down the back end of the order. But again, it just sometimes the race isn't in your hands, right, Ewan? You know, it doesn't matter how fast you are. Sometimes you can just get involved in something that's nothing to do with you, and ultimately, you know, your race is in the race.
Yeah, and there's, as you say, not a lot that you can do about it. These things happen, especially when there's so many lap cars around you. You just don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to interact with you when you get there. So it does make life very tricky indeed. More pit stops now for Trundley and Cosford. Cosford serving 20 seconds in the pit lane, and now Elvin Smith comes in, the first of the real leaders to come into pit lane. Of course, he has those 5 seconds though, and that is going to hold him back. It's going to put him behind Maczkowski and Klaassen, I would imagine.
Yeah, so the only way we would find out is what tyres are on is by changing the overlay, which would make it odd. So we won't know. I don't think Elvin's going to change the tyres. I think the track's too wet here. And the benefit of dry tyres would be maybe only the last 10 minutes. I think you'd lose so much time. I tell you what, that is some entry runaway from Renz de Lange. Definitely closed in on the group ahead of him. So yeah, for my money right now, I don't believe it's worth changing the tyres. I don't think you're going to gain too much. Trundle his way off the circuit there. Looks like he may have slipped on the oil at Shell's oil corner. I'm here all week. Yeah, in the tie-dye.
It might have just been water, but we'll go with it for the joke. He may be one of those who's gone for it on the dry tyres. I mean, unless he's just struggling with cold tyres on his way out of the pit lane, which seems a bit more plausible. But you never know what they could have risked, especially Trundley down in the lower order, because he's not in a Mercedes or an Aston Martin, which seems to be prevailing in these conditions. And so, it was Draper by the looks of things in the other McLaren. So those two obviously in teammates and identical liveries, and got them mixed up. But nevertheless,
hey, whoa! We didn't get mixed up.
Oh well, I wasn't trying to.
Proudly got him mixed up.
I wasn't trying to throw anyone under the bus.
That is not on us at all. That's Steve Proudly all day long. Well, I tell you what, if you want to make a spin look spectacular, that is the way to do it. There, little bump to the rear to self-right the car, facing the right direction. Give that a dismount, about 8.5.
As Prendergast comes into the pit lane, this is now the battle for the lead. Maczkowski trying to restore an AM driver leading, and he has.
Yeah, lovely bit of driving there, and yeah, it was nicely done. So Whitford now drops down a position. Kieran Prendergast into the pits. Again, I just don't think he would have taken too much of a chance in terms of changing tyres. But it will be interesting. Over the next sort of 10 minutes, we will realise if anyone's really taken a chance to do so. Maybe try to gain some positions by not doing so. But yeah, right now we don't really know. Number 30's got a 10-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin. That is the Porsche at the back. It wasn't just unsafe. He might be in trouble for walk-on.
It was. That's certainly what Bain will think. Who got taken out by that. Oh dear, this is a difficult looking McLaren on the outlap, I'm going to presume, and Prendergast is also on his outlap now. He's still fourth, and I can't see Klaassen in the background anywhere. There he is, coming around the Cascades corner now. So that's still the same amount of lead, roughly, that Kieran Prendergast has got.
Yeah, definitely. And now it's just about making sure that you don't make a mistake. It's all on you, really. Well, actually, with a mix of back markers to deal with as well, that could become a bit of an issue. We've got Steeny saying, why aren't you showing all 30 cars? Well, the reason why you can only see 23 on the left-hand side of your screen is because that is the limit as to how many cars there are showing at one time in the time tower. If we went all the way down to the bottom of the order and every car was shown on the left-hand side, you'd need some pretty strong glasses to see them. The text will be tiny. But yeah, as you can see, there are lots of people still involved here, but they are a fair chunk of time off. We've got Kernos, by the way, who is not only down in P26, but he's also got himself a stop go 30 penalty as well to add to things. Oh, Cosford, by the way, he really is looking to get the most penalties. He's now got a drive.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he would have got that from, because we haven't had a notification of an incident that's earned him that, and you wouldn't normally get that for speeding, so I don't know what that's about.
He's been trumped up. So, yeah, the drive-through might come from actually speeding in the pit lane, but then again, it was Steve who told us that, so it probably isn't. Yeah, so a drive-through penalty is still not the biggest penalty we've seen. Stop go 30 is the biggest, so you've got to sort of work a bit harder, Cosford, if you want to get yourself onto the top list of penalties. There is now a genuine dry line, by the way, for the first time.
It looks pretty dry, doesn't it? Is Maszkowski or Warner going to go for this? Because they're the final two left out there on the circuit. There's less than a minute to go, and they're just about going to get in the pit lane in time. It's relatively close, but they'll make it. And I wonder whether they are going to go for this, because it's certainly going to be dry by the end of the race, the way we're going.
Yeah, I think you definitely bring it in now, for sure. It's just changed on the dime, hasn't it? We didn't see that dry line half a lap ago, so I'm assuming that's going to just get wider and wider and wider. And yeah, right now, Warner, Maszkowski almost guarantee that they're going to bring this car in, get some dry rubber onto the car, and job is good. And it's now really all about whether Prendergast decided to go onto dry tyres. You know, these drivers have got so much experience with this sim, they don't know exactly how long it will take for the weather to, you know, clear up or the track to dry up. So it's all about whether they've made that decision. And do you know what? By the way that Kieran's driving that car there, it does look like he's maybe sliding around a little bit. So it does look like he might be onto the dry tyres.
Maybe. It is possible. Let's see how the car's behaving through Druids. Does look a little bit dry conditions, sort of the way it's behaving, but somewhat difficult to tell from here as well. Into the final corner now. Just trying to grab the apex, where water will be still building up, of course, in those curves. Those little divots as well on the edges of the road. Got to be careful at this stage, because it's by no means dry, but it's just quite dry in terms of the racing line. There goes Maszkowski now. He looks to be second. No, to be third. Clarkson has done a very good job actually through this pit stop phase. He's got back to second again. Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that's dry tyres. Got the yellow ring around them. Again, it's difficult to tell. The one thing that I've always wanted ACC to have, guys, is in the broadcast, is to tell us exactly what tyres people are on. It will just make the conversation a lot easier. Unfortunately, we're doing a little bit of guesswork to find out exactly what's going on. But yeah, they're all out now. Prendergast leads, 5 seconds in the lead to Clarkson. Maszkowski then is in third. 3 AMs, by the way, is the top 3. Luciano Whitford's leading the pro race by 1.1 second behind ahead of Elvin Smith. Erdman's in third, then for the pros in fourth, then is Warner. Then we've got our fourth position of Paduano, who is actually produced the fastest lap of the race so far. He's in 8th spot. Ryan Woodrow is in 9th, and then Van Veen is in 10th position. As you can see, lots of penalties have been cleared here as well. Trudley, by the way, because he didn't have a penalty next to his name, has moved up significantly. He's up to P13.
Exactly. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier on, and just staying out of trouble. And you'll be fine. This is what's happened a bit further down in the field to Turner, down Cascades, up on that curb, which is where you don't want to be, and he'll slide, and the gravel will stop him, thankfully, before the wall.
Yeah, well, the big issue there was braking on the grass. It's difficult to brake on the grass at the best of times when it's dry weather, but when it's wet, it's even more difficult. So that's yeah, a bit of misfortune. As we see number 20 there, James Draper. Yeah, just checking out the tyre all there. I can tell you, that's not the quickest way around the track. It's Revelation has just had a revelation of the drive-through penalty, 17.
Unfortunately, that's going to drop a few positions now. As a result, it's quite close in that region of the field. There are some gaps, of course, that got quite large at this stage, like the one from 15th back to 18th. It's about 30 seconds, for example. That's a very big margin to cover just 3 spots, but then you get many spots covered by about 5 seconds. Here is Draper. That is technical looking to me, that one.
Yeah, that was, I just put the power down a little bit too early and didn't react in time, and the wall is there. Does it work? And unfortunately, yes, the wall does work. As a wall would, it hurts and damages the car. Another drive-through penalty for Bain as well. So yeah, that would not have been because of speeding in the pit lane. Because yeah, I guess it would be track limits, wouldn't it? They get 3 warnings and then you're done. I guess that would be for track limits now.
Yeah, I've only just had that sort of thought, but yeah, maybe it is track limits because...
Oh, SG30, sorry, SG30 is for speeding in the pit lane, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
and then drive-through is for track limits.
Yeah, I thought so, but the reason I was sort of going away from that theory is because people are getting drive-through so early on in the race, but clearly they were just getting off the track very early on in the race too, which is fair enough, but slightly odd, really, given how early we were getting those drive-through penalties. It's strange that that would be for track limits, but it must be.
Yeah, it must be there. Number 11, Erdmann, she's got a final warning for contact with number 22. So that's a little telling off. So next time you're going to get yourself a penalty. So all is good right now. We're seeing Warner, or Woodrow here, trying to keep Paduano at bay. Paduano did have the fastest lap of the race momentarily. That's just going to get beaten over and over again now, by the way. The lap time will come down between now and the end of the race. We've got Aston Martin, whose bonnet is popping up there, so that's not how it should be. So Aston will be pretty slow, I would imagine, as we head down towards Island Bend. And yeah, nice little bit of battling here. As you see Luciano Whitford make the slightest of errors. Nelvin Smith is going to try and fill that void down towards then the first of our two sets of chicanes along the back part of the Solent Park circuit. Elvin forces Luciano to take the rubbish line through the chicane. Ultimately gets moved down. Really nice work. Really nice.
That was a...
Machkowski has got to drive through as well, so that must be track limit.
Yeah, and it must have been the first chicane where people are clearly struggling as well. Not sure whether it's that because obviously it's a sort of three-part chicane, 7, 8 and 9. Not sure which of those three corners is the main culprit, actually, for these drivers. However, it's clearly somewhere in these chicanes. I was thinking actually maybe turn 1 earlier on as well, where they must be picking up some warnings, because maybe the final corner, because we've seen a lot of drive-throughs so far, and Machkowski now probably the most major of them. Although in the Anfield, I'm not sure he's going to lose. What is going on there?
I don't know. Someone decided they want to do some Gran Turismo wall riding. I'm afraid, mate, you're about 20 years too late for that. That's not going to be very fast. That might be the end of their race, actually, with that damage.
Maybe. It looked like maybe once again sort of a wheel failure kind of thing, where you just get automatically turned into the wall against your will, but not really sure what other explanation there could be for that.
Paduano, 10-second penalty. Yeah, not having the best of days. Klaassen, by the way, is bringing that gap to Prendergast down quite significantly. So since the pit stop phase, he gained about a second. It was over 5 seconds. That's 4.1 seconds. Klaassen bringing that gap down. Machkowski, he's got a drive through. Yeah, right now Klaassen's just saying, can you take your drive through me? I don't really want anyone behind me this close trying to make any kind of moves on me. So if you just don't take your drive through now, that would be absolutely wonderful. We're on board then with Chris Warner, who has just got past Erdmann. Yeah, I think he's just made that move. So Erdmann is in behind now. Erdmann had the penalty for 10 as well. 24's got a 10-second penalty for contact with the number 19. I tell you what, I don't think I've ever seen this many penalties in a race, ever. Oh, there's a McLaren in the background as well, chilling. That's not the way you should be facing. I'm not sure you should park there either. There we are.
There it is, Dom Turner again there. The 19 car is Kurnos, who was running last earlier on, but has made positions now to 27. So clearly that was a lapping issue that's gone wrong for Paduano. Just show that blue flags don't mean you can just bully someone out the way or push someone out the way forcefully. You've got to make the overtake on the road, and you've got to make it without contact as well, as Paduano has just learned, because while that won't actually drop him in position as things stand, the 10-second penalty will still add to his race time and probably prevents him from gaining any more places today.
Yeah, here's the incident with Turner, and just unfortunately struggling there with the power, and into the wall we go. I will say one thing, the teammate car was right behind them at one point, so it does bring a great photo opportunity. This is the battle then for P2, but look at the gap between them and P1. That's now down to 3.3 seconds. So Machkowski has just got up ahead of Klaassen. Remember, Klaassen hasn't got to deal with the drive-through penalty, whereas Machkowski has, and now he's off to chase down Kieran Prendergast. But Prendergast lost a lot of time with that Mercedes in terms of lapped traffic. So the gap's now to under 4 seconds. This might be a very interesting next 17 minutes. Yeah,
however, Machkowski has done Prendergast a very good favour now by overtaking Klaassen. He's effectively put the Mercedes a bit further behind Prendergast, even though it's now 3.2 seconds, effectively it's something more like 3.6 because Klaassen is now third instead of second. Maczkowski must be running close now to not having served his penalty in time now. He must be in this lap or the next one to serve that drive-through penalty, otherwise it will get worse for him with the track limits. Let's see if he's in now, and he is. So Klaassen now goes back through again. He'll be wondering why on earth Maczkowski bothered to overtake him at all. Yeah. But that doesn't matter to Maczkowski, of course. The gap now 3.7. Prendergast has been helped out there a lot.
Yeah, I'll be fuming there right now if I was Klaassen. It's like, what have you done that for? Like, you're going to drop down to like outside the top 10. There's no need to do that. But he did it, so we move. Klaassen's still closing that gap though, so as you can see, this is the race leader. Then you've got the red AMG in the background. We've still got to contend with a back marker. Hopefully get through them relatively quickly and then try and chase down that gap and have a bit of ground down finish the back quarter of the race to go. Tom Holland Racing's in the chat. Apparently there's some technical issues during this race. Looks like they're going to get them solved for round 2. Hopefully you're having a bit of fun, and we look forward to seeing you in race number 2. If you've got any questions, by the way, in the chat, ask away. Ask away. Any questions within reason. Obviously, I can't tell you the meaning of life or anything like that. I'm legally not allowed to tell you the answer to that question. But yeah, if you've got any questions about the championship, I'll try and help you. So Erdman's got a drive-through penalty. Paduano, 10-second penalty. Trundley with a drive-through penalty. We're mentioning how he's managed to gain so many positions because he had no penalties and everyone else around him did. Trundley's now got to take a trip through the pit lane. He's going to be fuming.
Yeah, and he's going to fall behind Manders, Tomlinson and Bain, I'd imagine, as a result of that drive-through penalty. So that will drop him to 11th in the Pro class, which is a bit further down than you'd expect Bobby Trundley to be, who, as I mentioned earlier, has had seasons in the real-world British GT Championship, as has Thomas Holland, by the way, who is in the YouTube chat at the moment. He's been in the British GT Championship last season. And so hopefully he can be back for next week at Silverstone.
Trundley has got Manders in behind him. There's 0.08 of a second separating the two of them down towards that second chicane, and that was a little nudge to pass there, but the pass bit didn't happen. So Trundley is going to hang on. He's getting a little flash of the lights there. That's to say, I'm really sorry about that. Please don't hurt me. Let's not fight in the pit lane. Ultimately, only one of them is going to come through the pit though. That is going to be Trundley. So Manders will get that position eventually. It just may take a couple of laps. So probably this one, to be fair. As it stands though, Klaassen, second position, now starting to lose time to Prendergast. So Prendergast has pulled the gap out to about 3.9 seconds. Elvin Smith now starting to close in on P2. He's coming in third, so the fastest lap of the race as well. Luciano Whitbert is currently in P4. As it stands, we've got Warner, who's been in P3 at the start, went up to P2 momentarily, then down to P5 with Elvin Smith and him having a bit of a hoo-ha, then down to P9, went down to P11, got back up to P9, then ended up having a penalty, is now in P5. Warner has had some race.
He has. It's been very eventful. I'm sure he could have probably done a little bit better as well in terms of finishing position if things had gone a bit differently and he'd had a bit of a cleaner race, but no, there is another slide very wide here for one of the Mercedes. Are we going to slalom through here again? Ah, no, not quite so successfully this time for the number 12 Mercedes, not replicating the heroics of Klaassen earlier on. Whitbert there has damage, and now Warner's up to 4th place.
Now, if I'm Paul Crawford right now, I am getting that clip and the previous clip of the Mercedes going through that gap, and I'm putting them together and I'm chucking it on TikTok. The kids would love that.
I wouldn't know about TikTok, to be honest.
No, again, I'm over the age of 30, so legally not allowed to have that.
I'm not even over the age of 30 and I don't have it, so there you go.
I will remind you, well, not remind you, but mention that you did a very good American-British person accent a minute ago. You went British, which was quite nice.
Oh right, yeah, when Americans are trying to be British, yes, I see what you mean now.
Bottle of water?
Yes, I see what you mean. I don't try to, by the way, I just don't pronounce T's very well, or at all.
Not in.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Right, we're on board with Manders then, who's going to get a bit of a freebie here. Number 30's got a 5-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin. Yeah, and I think they should be banned from sim racing forever if you do an unsafe rejoin. But 5 seconds is what we've been given in this championship, which is fine. You know, we're not going to be too crazy about it. But yeah, not like
quite forgiving compared to your rather severe punishment, but there we are. No, that's fine. I mean, we've seen a few of them, unfortunately, so far today, but it's very difficult to sort of keep your head straight and think about all these things when everything's going on around you. I mean, there's been a lot going on in the first half an hour, especially. I know it's dried out now and it's possibly single filed out a bit more, but that doesn't mean there's not stuff going on the circuit. Krzysztof Maszkowski gets through here on that was a very nice camera looking back here from the Aston Martin at the very damaged nose of that Mercedes. You can see the loss of straight line speed immediately.
Yeah, so a very nice look at the overtake, but not a very nice look at that Mercedes. That's the one that just got involved with the barrier down at turn number 5, and ultimately it was like taking sweets from a very small child, Maszkowski, who did have to serve a drive-through penalty. So as it stands right now, he is going to be on the podium, and he had to serve a drive-through penalty. That's some performance. Here is Prendergast who leads. There's no cars between him and Klaassen as it stands. The gap's 4.4 seconds. We're into the last 11 minutes. So there's a McLaren there that is going to scare Prendergast to within the inch of his life. Yeah. He absolutely won't want to contend with that. He would have also seen the McLaren getting very big in his rear-view mirror. Another chance for him to pucker up. Oh boy, it's still not over until you get across that line. Question to the chat though, ladies and gentlemen. What should be the penalty for someone who rejoins unsafely? I feel like in sim racing, it is the only thing you have sole control over. A rejoin. For me, banned forever. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm not, well, yeah, get your answer in, but I'm not going to go banned forever. Personally, this is why the McLaren, sorry, that we just saw Prendergast overtake had a damaged nose. There's the contact for the number 9, and as he said at the time, Prendergast will be would have been very nervous about making that overtake, but thankfully that's in the rearview mirror now, and he's only 10 minutes away from a round 1 victory. Only 10 minutes worth of traffic though. I can't imagine how many cars he's going to have to overtake in that time.
Yeah, right now he's hoping none, but as you can see in the distance, there's at least 2. So yeah, Kieran still with a little bit of work to go. He won't take this for granted, that's for certain. Definitely a wet weather specialist, as I mentioned earlier on, but in the dry has really weathered the storm. Pardon the pun. But yeah, looking pretty good. 4.7 seconds now in the lead. The gap between Klaassen and Elvin Smith is about 4.7 seconds. Warner 1.4 behind Elvin Smith and actually holds the fastest lap of this race at the moment. So Warner versus Smith, part 3. Yes, please.
Yes, very much look forward to that, and it's for the pro win as well, of course. These 2 championships are settled. The red box drivers on the left-hand side are AMs, and the ones in the white box with the black writing are the pros. And so this is for the pro win, and a separate point system to go with it as well. The full 119 points to the winner of this battle.
Yeah, 119 points, the roundest of roundest numbers. When I saw that in the list today, I was like, okay, copy. Yeah, no, that's a new one for me. But that makes this championship unique. But it runs all the way down to 20th position where you get 2 points. So the gap between P1 and P20 is 117 points. Yeah. Yeah, do with that information what you will. Heading down towards that final corner we go. Warner lost a bit of time there with that Mercedes. I think he got ghosted into the braking zone of that second chicane. Yeah, the pressure moving up towards Elvin Smith may have just moved Warner off the touch. But you're right, this is a battle for the race victory. The gap now 1.3 seconds. And like I said, Warner does now have the fastest lap of this race. His best lap is 33.0, and he's just done a 33.5, so lost about half a second. We've got, again, Prendergast here. Oh, no! Ooh. No! Prendergast is off! Oh, wow. So the back marker here, the number 30, he's not stopping that car either. Klaassen's going to be gifted it here. Or is he? Prendergast is going to come back on. Yeah, Klaassen's going to get into the lead here. That is not how you want to see someone losing the lead of this race. And actually, he now comes out in front of Elvin Smith. He's going to slow him down, which in turn is going to give Warner an opportunity to maybe make a move for the lead in the pro class. But the big story here is that Klaassen now is the lead driver. Will that change once again? Because there are some back markers to contend with. Not ideal.
Can you believe that? Wow. Prendergast is going to be absolutely furious about that, and you just saw the desperation as well as he got on the road there. He did stop himself from getting out straight onto the racing line there and hitting Klaassen, which he would have done if he wasn't careful, but he did just stop himself from doing that, thankfully. And now he's down to second position. Smith right behind, being held up by Prendergast very briefly there. This is the moment again. It's one of the Porsches who he overtakes there. Gets straight into the back of him, really needlessly as well. That's going to be a penalty for that Porsche.
I don't think it matters, to be honest. I think
well, no, but
that's just poor, in my honest opinion. He's just turned in and hit the rear diffuser of the Aston Martin, of the AMG. Sorry, of the Aston Martin, and cost him the chance of winning this race. And sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. That was awful, really bad from the Porsche. And yeah, unfortunately, well, you see the Porsche's off again, just chilling. And I think that was another, yeah, that's like another lap down. Not good, not good. The one big loser there, Kieran Prendergast, is going to be absolutely furious in the situation. But this is now a battle for P2 overall in the race, but the race win for the pros. So as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, Ewan just mentioned it, the numbers have either got a red box behind it or a white box. The red box is AMs, and the white box is pros. Currently, the AMs are P1 and P2.
Yeah, they're having a very good time of things with the AMs. And it's not all down to pace, is it? I mean, we've seen incidents for these AMs, very much so, to drop them down, as with that being one of them, an instance for the pros that has dropped them down, and everything else that's been going on. There's one of the Lamborghinis going through the chicane on the grass. Unfortunately, Klaassen, I don't know if you saw there in the foreground of that shot, but he went very slowly on the way in there. Now it's 2.9 seconds as he got through that traffic.
Oh boy, yeah. Again, I want to kind of say that Klaassen's going to go out there and win this race, no real issues. But I just know that is not the case. It's almost like Mario kind of, people are throwing out some of the power-ups they've got. This is ridiculous. I don't know what's going to happen. As it stands, Klaassen's 2.9 seconds in the lead. Elvin Smith is second, but leading the, Kieran Prendergast is second. Then you've got Elvin Smith who's leading the pro class. He's looking to try, he doesn't need to gain any positions here. Making an overtake on the car in front doesn't help him in the slightest. They're two separate championships. So he's effectively winning his race. He doesn't need to move up. Warner, unfortunately, lost a bit of time there because of the back mark. He's getting a lovely onboard with Elvin Smith. They've got a McLaren to deal with ahead of them as well. So there we are, just up ahead as we come through Island Bend. As we see, Klaassen's off! Oh, Klaassen's completely off! Oh, he's taking out second and third! And I tell you what, all of a sudden then Warner now is going to be in the lead of this race. A big off there for our race leader of Klaassen. And when he cleans out second and third. You thought drama was happening with the Porsche. Well, the leader has just done it all of his own.
How did he get there? That is bizarre from Klaassen, who's now got damage to the front end, by the way. And Warner suddenly is in prime position to win this race. Down the inside, up on the curb. That was close to contact, but they've sorted it out. And now it's the top four in a row with 4 minutes to go, battling for this race win.
He just bounced over the curb there. We're about to see a replay of exactly how this went down. Klaassen, nobody else involved. Oh, yeah, he just over-rotated, just turned the wheel a little bit too much. And ultimately with the tyres, oh, look at that, he takes the back marker out, and then there's two Astons that get cleaned out. And Warner's just like his birthdays, his Christmases and Easter's all rolled into one. Absolutely takes the lead in this race. Klaassen now trying to hold that inside line. And right now, Warner, again, they don't need to fight. They really don't need to fight here. This is a different battle. But Warner is going to get ahead, almost scrapes across the bonnet then of the Mercedes, but ultimately just about hangs on. And Warner has now gone from third to second, down to fourth, then down to ninth, down to 11th, up to 10th, up to 5th, and then up to second, and now into the lead. Warner has had some race.
He has. What a fantastic race. And now he might be on his way to a race win as well. Prendergast has just overtaken Klaassen as well for the AM race win here. And it looks like Klaassen is damaged and struggling. Smith knows that it's now or never if he wants to get through and beat Warner in this one. He tried to get down the inside of Klaassen at the hairpin there, but there wasn't quite the room to get through.
I'm just trying to take a breath here. This is absolutely ridiculous. As Klaassen now receives a 5-second penalty. I think that's going to go up though. I believe he might gain a little bit more of a penalty there due to the rejoin.
There it is.
Just not ideal. Although we've been seeing 5 seconds for bad rejoins throughout the entirety of this. So yeah. Oh, his nose! And the everyone out. I just got a giggle at this point. At this point, what else can we do? Like, it's just the awareness. It's like we've got a couple of Stevie Wonders driving out there.
That was very close to a big bit of contact with some of the race leaders. Thankfully, everyone's avoided, and with 2 laps to go, we've still got a battle for the overall race win, although it remains to be seen how much Warner and Prendergast are going to fight, given the fact that they're both race winners in effect with their classes.
Yeah, 100%. They don't need to fight here. It is a case of you're both going to win your class, you know, regardless of whether you swap over or what, you're still going to gain the same amount of points. They're both going to receive 119. So it's all about making sure that you get through safely. And I kind of hope that Warner does win, because I just want to talk to him. I just want to have an interview with him and kind of, yeah, dissect exactly what happened in this race, because it's been absolutely bonkers, and some way of kicking off the British GT Esports Cup 2024. As much as the drivers are going to be annoyed with how things have gone down in this race, I'm pretty sure everybody watching at home right now is entertained. And, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm entertained. This is my job. I love this. So into the first chicane we go. Warner still holds that lead by 0.4 of a second. And if you're Kieran Prendergast right now, you are just holding firm. Take the race win for your class. Job is a good one.
Yeah, I think Prendergast's lead actually is an even more secure one than Warner's, which seems bizarre to say because Warner's got 2 cars between himself and his nearest rival. But with Clarkson's damaged, I just don't see a reasonable way that he beats Prendergast in this race, because the damage is clearly holding him back. It meant that he even got overtook on the way to the final corner by Warner a few laps ago, and that's pretty unusual if you've got a healthy car. So you can clearly see the damage holding him back, and of course the penalty now that he's got. And one of his World of Sim Racing teammates, Sudakar, gets back onto the road after having an incident. Not sure, well, they're not scoring points for the same team, so he won't really matter, but nevertheless, those Mercedes have had a pretty eventful day so far.
I can't believe we've got another race to go. I need a couple of weeks off. This has been... I need some counselling, actually, after this race. It's been on a different level. It's been drama from start to finish. The weather, I thought, was going to be the biggest factor, but ultimately, it's not. There's just been cars throwing themselves at each other. I know it's a tough circuit, but most of it has been quite avoided. So you can see now Elvin Smith trying to make the... Oh, no, he's going to be on the grass. I'm not sure he's saving that either. Just about does. He's going to run deep, and yeah, right now he's just trying to get ahead of Clarkson so he can maybe go and chase down Warner. It's going to be almost an impossible task. We are now on to the final lap of today's race through the first of our 2 chicanes, the back end of this circuit, heading down now in towards turn number 10, then through Knickerbrook for our race leader Warner, who again started on the grid today in P3, made a very ballsy move up to P2 to kick things off. Him and Elvin Smith traded a bit of paint, traded a couple of penalties with each other, and he ended up down into P5. Then there was another altercation between the two of them. He ended up down into P9. Then he made another mistake. He ended up down into P11. Then he managed to deal with 2 honoured cars and get back up to P9. Then the people were getting penalties around him, went up to P5. And then he slowly but surely made his way back up to the lead. Oh, he's had so many different positions today, but the most important one is the final lap, and Warner will pick up victory in our first round of the British GT Esports Cup 2024. As there's some contact at the end, it doesn't matter now. Prendergast will also take victory for the AM class. Clarkson will take 2nd position. I don't think he's going to lose out here, actually. Maybe Machkowski will just about get him. It will let us know. I think Clarkson just about... Well, it will figure itself out in a minute, actually. I don't know whether Clarkson's just about hung on there. Elvin Smith's going to take P2. We've got Machkowski's going to take P3 in the AMs. P3 for the pros is going to be Ryan Woodrow, although he's just been given a 5-second penalty at the death here as well. But Ewan, that was, wow, for the lack of a better term, bananas.
It was a very crazy race indeed, but very enjoyable, very watchable. And very entertaining as well. Some drama right to the very end. Some interesting driving. Some good battles out there as well. Some weather to throw into the equation. And that is only 1 race out of 2. Still got another hour of racing coming up in about half an hour's time or so after we've done qualifying and gone through all of that. So yeah, it should be fantastic. And if it's anything like that first one, then it's going to be well worth being here for.
I don't think that's fair on us, really, making us do another hour. I'm going to speak to HR about this and or at least, I don't know, make it so they have to start 10 seconds apart each race, because that was mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. You just couldn't breathe. You couldn't just settle into a rhythm and go, oh, well, I'm pretty sure this guy's going to win, because it just kept changing so significantly across the whole race. Outstanding stuff. Again, you know, there's going to be a few drivers out there that aren't going to be too particularly pleased with how things have gone and, you know, stuff that's outside of their control. But ultimately, you know, as a fan, as someone who's watching, you know, someone working on this product, I had an absolute blast there, and that was brilliant.
It was entertaining. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not sure some of the drivers will have enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and so we've had a good time, and that's and hopefully people have at home as well. And that's what's important. So What a fantastic race. Let's have a look at some of the best bits.
Yeah, so here we go. This was the race start then. Kieran Prendergast took us away here at Oulton Park, and as you can see, the weather was very much different at the start as to what we had at the end there. Windscreen wiper fully on. It was wetter than an otter's pocket as we headed down into turn 1. And this is the move that I said happened between Warner. Warner actually made it 3 wide, and it looked at some point like he was going to get the move done on everybody. Elvis Smith there was on the outside. He decided to back out of it in the end, and ultimately that worked out well. But there is the podium spots there. Chris Warner will be on the top of that rostrum here at Oulton Park. We get a lovely panned view of the lake there. It looks beautiful to go fishing in there.
Yeah, on a particularly stormy winter, that could very easily feel like that could very easily spill onto the racetrack. But anyway, I've not seen it before, so there we are. Apparently, we're hearing someone's going to be disqualified for some reason. I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, you've been disqualified, Ewan, unfortunately. Oh. So we're not going to see you for the next race. Oh, I'm sorry, car 19's been disqualified. I'm not sure what car that was. Which car? What car's number 19? I know number 30 was a Porsche, but car number 19 has been disqualified, so I have to figure out exactly who that is. Is it for intention? Wow, for intentionally taking another driver out. Now I know that's bad, right? And this may sound bad. I kind of want to see a replay of that. I know we're not going to, but I really want to see the how much intention it really was. But yeah, car 19 will not be in the next race, which is not ideal.
I feel like we're going to be not going to be shown that.
No,
because
shame,
yeah, it's not good. And to be fair, we were talking about penalties earlier on for unsafe rejoins and what should be done. But I think in that case of intentionally taking someone out, then disqualification is the only really way you can go with that. And that's only for round 2, by the way. That's not for any of the other rounds. So they can return again at Silverstone, but for tonight, that's it for them.
I think if they did a highlights package for that last race, where normally it's sort of about 10 minutes, and a 60-minute race would be about 10 minutes. I actually think a highlights package would be longer than what the race was. You would have like an hour and a half of just absolute carnage going down. Ridiculous stuff. So we got one more race coming up for you in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. So we got a qualifying session of 20 minutes. We then indeed will have ourselves a race of 60 minutes, exactly the same once again. Not sure what the weather's going to be. Hopefully the same. That'd be wonderful. But yeah, very rarely do you see rain, let alone twice in a row. Who knows? And then we will have one mandatory pit stop once again in the middle of the race. 25 minutes in, 25 minutes left to go. Off the back of race number 1, surely it's got to be calmer this time, Ewan.
You'd think so, but then again, it might just be even crazier. I mean, by the end of the second race, you've got to remember that it will have been a lot of driving, a long afternoon for everybody as well, and they're probably going to be quite tired by the end of the actual second race. So it could even be worse, could even be more chaotic at the end of this. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to see here, but looking forward to it anyway. And even if there is no wet weather, I think we are going to see some difficulties with the circuit and everything, given the fact everyone will be quite drained by the end of race 2.
Yeah, I think that is a distinct possibility. I don't really know what to predict, to be completely honest. I think we're going to head to a very quick ad break, guys, and then we're going to be back for qualifying in race number 2.
And he gets past all of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this. And onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, cars, for the British GT Esports Cup 2024. The first race is in the books. It's done and dusted. Chris Warner with a ridiculous performance. Ended up going down the grid to P11 at one point and then fought his way back up to the lead. A lot of it was his own driving. Some of it not so much Ewan. That was a spectacle.
It was a spectacle. That's one thing we can certainly call it and say with 100% confidence. It was great entertainment as well. Thoroughly enjoyable first race, but as we've been just discussing there on the other side of those ads, I wonder what effect that's going to have on race 2. Are we going to see the same protagonists up towards the front? Because they do have to qualify all over again. It's not reverse grid. It's not even race 1 results. It's a completely new qualifying session coming up very soon.
Yeah, and if it is dry qualifying, it'll be completely different to what we've just seen. So yeah, a genuine opportunity for these drivers to showcase a different type of skill set. And I would imagine we would see different drivers at the sharp end as well. And just to go through a few things with you guys, hopefully we can just get the calendar up on your screens because there's plenty of rounds coming up in this championship. So here is the calendar. We're already halfway through rounds 1 and rounds 2. It's February the 3rd. It's my partner's 40th birthday today. She's out, so I've got the whole day to commentate. It's beautiful. We have then got a 1 times 3 hour race, the Silverstone 500, which is February the 10th. That is next week. Then February the 17th, we're at Donington Park. Again, probably the best racing track in the world, apart from maybe Sugo. That is going to be 1 times 2 hour race. Then the same format again will be at Spa-Francorchamps, which is March the 2nd, which by my money means we actually have a break of a week. We then head to Snetterton, March the 9th for 2 1-hour races, the same format as what we have today. And then to end things, we go to Brands Hatch on March the 16th for 1 2-hour race. So lots of racing action coming up for you over the course of the next few weeks. I'm not sure when we're going to pop into qualifying and see exactly what's going down, or whether we are or not. But we shall be seeing some action very, very quickly.
They're
Just
just in
being
the end of
told.
free practice 4 now, and then we'll be into the qualifying session. So looking forward to that and seeing where we get to off of this next qualifying session. Of course, it'll be split 10 minutes each. The AMs will be out there, then the pros as well in qualifying. And maybe while the AMs are out there, we can chat to a pro driver. But so far, nobody's come to join us for an interview. So that's nice.
I tagged him. I did tag Chris. I tagged Chris in the chat and said, any chance of an interview? Because I just want to hear about. To be fair, I'm not sure he's got any energy left after what's just happened there. But it would have been nice to speak to Chris about that performance. But none of the drivers have turned up. So if you do watch this broadcast back, drivers, please make yourself available if you are one of the top drivers for an interview. It doesn't even matter if you've won the race. Just come and say hello. Come and get yourself involved. We want to tell your story. Maybe you've got something that we didn't see, or maybe you want to, plug your Twitter or X or whatever they call it these days. Just come and say hello during this championship. Let's get to know you all. Right, we're getting a lovely shot here. Again, we're just about to go into qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. So we will have a 10-minute session during. There's a 20-minute session. 10 minutes is going to be set for the AMs. I'm not sure if the AMs or the pros go first, but we'll figure that out very, very quickly. So we'll have AMs go out, then the pros, or vice versa, and that will set our grid. Then we'll have one formation lap and then a 60-minute timed race with a mandatory pit stop once again. If it's dry, Ewan, what are you expecting to be different?
I
Apart
think
from the
maybe
condition.
I didn't think of saying that actually. I think what's going to be different, maybe a little bit less chaos in the opening moments, because although saying that, we did see a lot of the carnage after the actual dry out period. So maybe it won't be any different at all. But yeah, expecting conditions to be slightly easier for them to keep things on the road, because some were finding it very tricky in that opening race.
Someone just replied to me in the Sim Racing General chat. It's Christopher Warner. So looks like we're going to get him in for a quick interview then. We'll hear his blop, and then we know he is in and ready to rock and indeed roll.
Yeah, can either of us? Here we go.
Oh, there he is. Right, please don't swear. You are live on the television. Chris Warner. Oh my God. Let me just get this right. P3 to P2 with a ballsy move. Then down to P4. Had a couple of incidents with Elvin. Dropped down to 11th. Moved up to 10th. Then had a bit of an altercation with 2 purple cars. Went up to 9th. Pit stop phase happened in 5th. Then just the world ended a few times. Went up to P1 and won the race. Is that about right?
Yeah, around about that. I think the move into T1, I was definitely prioritizing going forwards than backwards, because I knew if I couldn't get one of them, then they'd just be working together. So it would have been impossible. But yeah, happy I got that done. And then was unlucky with Elvin. I'm sure it wasn't malicious or anything, intentful or anything like that. But yeah, unfortunate. But yeah, managed out all well. Apologies to that purple car as well. Wasn't supposed to bash them off, but just got caught up in the braking zone, I think, there as it went over the crest. But Yeah, super happy and hoping it to carry forward some decent momentum into the second one.
What about the second one, Chris? Since we were just talking, myself and Luke, about what the conditions are going to be like and whether, if it's dry, how different it's going to be. What do you think is going to be different if we start this second race in dry conditions?
Well, I think quite a few people must have had a compromise on their setup wise, maybe a hybrid setup, because my pace felt much stronger towards the end of that race. I think I carried on a dry setup and just bolted on wet tyres. Um, so hopefully it stays dry because I think I'm a bit quicker in that. But my teammate Krzysztof Makowski um, was definitely in a place to win that race before as well, but got unlucky with drive through. But yeah, hopefully we just have consistent pace now to be able to get some good results in for this one.
Surely you're hoping that there are just not going to be 400 people trying to throw their car at you either, as well, right?
Yeah, it does seem a little bit sketchy. Obviously being a new championship and all, I'm sure that's to be expected. Um, but yeah, it's just avoiding trouble and trying to keep a cool head, and that should get you through it.
Wonderful stuff, mate. Well, I'll let you crack on with your qualifying for race number 2. Congratulations, really nice performance, and yeah, thanks for coming and have a little chat.
Awesome, no worries. Cheers, guys.
See you, mate. Here we are then, qualification, and who is out right now? The AMs are out on the circuit as it stands. There is Renz de Lang, what a name that is, by the way, it's a beautiful name. And no times have been posted as of yet by the looks of things. So once the timing goes to 10, I believe the pros will be allowed to go out, and if the AMs are still on a lap, they get to finish that lap. I would assume that's how it works.
I think
around
so.
Yeah, that's, I would imagine so. So Machkowski then about to take us on a lap here of Oulton Park. Might be a good chance to have a little onboard. I don't think we've done any onboard so far for a full lap here. So there we go. Turn number 1, Old Hall Corner. And now we're heading down towards turn number 2. This is actually a corner. That is Denton. Allegedly a corner. He's still going through there absolutely flat out. Through Cascade we come. And, yeah, toying with the track limits. Now it's the long run down Lakeside. There's a lake to the left-hand side. So we've now come through the island bend in towards Shell Oil's corner, one of the harsher braking zones. Got a nice hairpin to contend with here, but as you can see, it's very cambered, so you don't really lose too much time, whatever line you take through there. The track will filter you back down to the low side regardless. As we head down through turn number 6, now we've got 7, 8, and 9. This is Britain's, nice chicane. And you've got to be very careful on entry because you will hit one of those tyre walls and you will get a lot of damage. Now we've got the run down Hilltop in towards turn number 10. And then we've got Hislops, which is the left-hander. Now we head through to Knickerbrook, which is turn number 12. Again, using all of the exit on the curve. Now we come up the hill towards turn number 13, which is Clay Hill. And then we head through 14, which is an extension of turn number 13, it's Water Tower. And now we head through Druids, one of the most famous corners in the UK. Now we've got the long run down towards that final corner, which is Lodge Corner. And this is, for me, the final corner. But again, there's another 10th corner, which has 4 of them on the circuit. We've got this little left-hander here. Again, it's absolutely flat out. This is Deer Lee. And over the line we will go, and that is a lap of Oulton Park. Paduano is the fastest as it stands at 32.235.
That's a good time, and especially considering where Paduano finished in the first race, which was not first by any means, certainly not quicker than Machkowski or Prendergast or Clarkson actually in the opening qualifying session either. So where he's found this from, I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's a little bit sort of what Chris was talking about setups. Maybe Paduano was really set up for the dry conditions, and during those first 40 minutes he really struggled.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a very fine line between having a good setup for the wet and a good setup for the dry. But if you go too far one way or the other, and for instance, if you have a nice wet setup and it's dry, you're in a little bit of trouble. So there is Prendergast. He's on an outlap. He's about to start a flyer, I believe, and he's got just under 4 minutes to get an absolute flyer in. But currently half a second off of Paduano's pace. So I'm expecting a little bit more from Prendergast, who managed to win the race in the AM class last time.
Yeah, we are expecting him to probably get pole here, considering his pace throughout the race as well, just throughout its duration. He seemed to be fastest when he wasn't getting hit by Porsches on the way towards turn 5, but he got away with it in the end, so it's fine. But the pace will be lasting, of course, and he will fly through turn 4 here, now into the bank's hairpin. Trying to dive for that apex, goes a little bit wider up the hill, but as he said last lap, it doesn't matter especially. And he's going to look to find those 5/10ths of a second. From the looks of things so far, the second lap out on the circuit seems to be the fastest of your run. Maszkowski there went quite a lot quicker on his second lap. We saw him complete one lap when we started the onboard. We were on board for his second flyer of the run. So if this is Prendergast first, then he might find it difficult to go half a second quicker than he's already gone.
Yeah, another thing to factor in here is this is a continuation, I believe, this server. So it's the same server, so the track will progress as the sessions go on. So once the rain dissipated earlier on and it was a dry track, it would have started off green, and then it would have, just got grippier and grippier and grippier before they get to optimum. So right now, I believe they will probably be at optimum, or maybe fast. I don't exactly know what it is as it stands, but the track should get faster and faster and faster. So there you go. It looks like Prendergast might be about to go faster here. Across the line, here we go. Oh no, it's just, it's gone faster, but only into second spot. So Paduano looks like a very competitive time right now.
It does, and not yet looking like being beaten, because Prendergast was on it there on that lap as we were watching. He's not done so well through Druids.
That's why he's fast. He's taken that line.
Maybe that's the trick. If he goes quicker again here, then there's going to be some suspicions, that's for sure. Let's see if he does. I can't imagine so, but he is pushing to the line anyway. This would be amusing. No,
it's invalidated, mate.
Go any quicker. So he's a second slower anyway, so it doesn't especially matter. He'll look for another lap now. The thing that is noticeable, though, is the sort of spread of field here in the AM class. Got some very fast drivers up towards the top, and then some people who are struggling with this circuit at the moment further towards the bottom.
Yeah, you're not wrong. As we've got the tie-dye livery, James Draper in the McLaren, currently 7th position, 2.4 seconds off of the pace, maybe finding a bit more time. Yeah, up to P6. Lovely old job, found himself 0.3 of a second. Right, chat, where are we watching from? Let me know, where are we watching from around the world? Yeah, just let us know. And maybe let us know who you're supporting as well. But welcome to the broadcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're watching, or if you're on YouTube, the subscribe button. Prendergast, though, is apparently 0.3 of a second up. But again, that information comes from our producer, Steve Proudly, to take that with a bucket full of salt. But as he comes up towards the start-finish line, now 0.4 of a second. We're getting a running countdown here. Across the line he goes, and he's right! Oh my! Steve Proudly with a correct prediction. Pole position, Kieran Prendergast as it stands.
Yep, it's a quarter of a second or so, and that should be enough with the amount of time remaining. It's not 10 minutes for these guys. In fact, their time is about to run out in 20 seconds, because in the second half of this session, the pros will be allowed to go out there and do their thing. Klaassen has started a lap, though. I believe he will get to complete this, though he does need to find more than half a second to take that pole position away.
Oh, I wonder if we can get a quick look at the pros here. I bet they're all waiting by the line as well. There you go. I knew it. I knew it. They're all waiting at the line, ready to go out there. I love it. They're just trying to get their track position. They don't want to be affected by anybody else. I just knew it. Klaassen, though, 0.6 currently off of the pace. And if he finds himself 1/10 of a second here, so quite simply, he's going to move up into the top 3 of the AM class. But expect the pros to come out there, and whether they'll be faster than Prendergast, I'm not 100% sure on that. They'll definitely be in and around it. It will certainly be close. I'm going to put it this way. I'm very surprised Prendergast is an AM in this championship, because he is very quick.
He is very quick, yeah. But there are other very quick AMs, so it sort of balances out in that respect, because they will remain the same. From what I read earlier and what I understood earlier, they will remain the same throughout the season, no matter whether their ranking actually changes, as Klaassen goes up to 3rd place, so does indeed improve with that second or that final time. So the pros are out there now. That's it for the AMs as far as I can tell. That's the final time, and that's your AM standings on the left-hand side.
One thing I'm not 100% sure about with the rulebook, I haven't interpreted it this way. I don't know if there's a way of people now qualifying throughout the championship. So I don't know whether this is our final grid or whether there more people can get involved. Hopefully Paul is watching and he can maybe shoot me a message and get me some clarification on that. But yeah, there might be an opportunity for people to actually still qualify for this series. So if anyone's watching who can clarify that, that would be wonderful.
And also, there's some drivers on our entry list who we've not seen yet tonight, so I'm presuming we're going to get others on the grid and more people on the grid as the rounds go on, who just, for whatever reason, can't make this one, which is normal and fair enough. There is also, by the way, something I've not seen before. I don't know if you've ever seen this in a championship before, but compassion points for rounds you're not at, which is interesting.
Compassion points?
Yeah, it's calculated at the end of the championship for a driver. If you've skipped up to 2 race weekends, you can be allocated points based on the rounds that you were at, as if you were at the rounds that you weren't at, if you see what I mean.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
So that's how I've interpreted the rules as well, but correct me if I've misunderstood. But
sounds very compassionate.
It is. It's the compassion points.
Quite simply is.
Yes.
So
2 race weekends, which I'm not sure how it works when there's 2 races in a weekend, but we're experiencing that right now, so we'll find out at the end of tonight.
Yeah, let's go back to on board with Chris Warner, shall we? In qualifying here for round 2. He's currently 14th overall, but that's because he hasn't set a lap time in. This one won't count either, I don't think, because he's not mowing the lawn on the exit of the first section. So not ideal as we're on board now with Elvin Smith. Maybe we're going to see it once again where we have 2 Brabham Aston Martins on that front row.
It would be a great start for the 2 of them. In terms of the team's championship, by the way, they have had a great start, those 2. Clarson's teammate, unfortunately, Ryan Woodrow, as I've worked out now, was doing okay in the first race, but was quite a way behind him, even despite being a pro driver. Whitver as well had Cosford quite a long way behind him. There was no one doing nearly as well as Brabham in that first race, and once again in this qualifying session, they've set the early mark there.
Yeah, they certainly have. Again, 2 AMs right at the sharp end, but like you said, Ewan, it seems to be the second attempt is the faster one here, so you're expecting Elvin Smith to go a little bit faster and maybe challenge Kieran at the sharp end of this grid. Right now he's got 2 cars between him and Whitver. Whitver is the second fastest of our pros, 7/10 further back on Elvin Smith. We're on board them with Warner, who was our race winner, overall race winner, and indeed the pro class winner. How he managed to do that? Well, you know, he might have needed a slightly higher power because it was just absolutely ridiculous scene. So if you just joined the broadcast, once this is finished, please go back and watch the first race because I'm not sure for entertainment it will ever be beaten. It was ridiculous. Up the hill we come, and Warner once again just has to get a lap time in just to take the pressure off the touch. 5 minutes 30 seconds left on the clock. If you invalidate 2 laps in a row, that's realistically where you're going to start to feel the pressure because you need 2 laps to build the tyre pressures up to where you need to be really fast. That's what we saw from the AMs. Round then the final corner we will go. Chris Warner, just keep it within the white lines, within that mayo and the mustard. As we come then around that final corner, across the line we will go the shortest possible route, of course. And Warner does get a bank of time in. It's second in the class, it's 5th overall.
What about Elvin Smith? He goes up to second. So Prendergast and Smith have both done a very good job to share the front row again. Can anybody get into the 31s though? We've still got 5 minutes to go and there's still time to maybe go below that 1 minute 32.0 which Prendergast has been able to do so far. Of course, this qualifying session remarkably different to the one in qualifying number 1, which I'm presuming was fully dry.
Yeah, 100%. This is odd for me. I haven't commentated on ACC for quite some time, actually. So seeing all these cars on track together is quite rare for me. But so that also makes it very important to get your bank time in early because you can be affected by other people out there who are maybe making a mistake or a little bit slower. So yeah, traffic can be a big factor. And, you know, around some tracks, like maybe Spa, having a car in front of you might not necessarily be the worst thing in the world. Around Oulton Park, you don't gain any advantage really anywhere. You're more than likely going to lose time. It's not really a long enough straight to gain time. Even that back straight we just saw there, when you come through Lakeside, you've got that sweeping left-hander to contend with, which is tough enough on your own, let alone with a little bit of turbulent air in front of you.
Yeah, you don't want that, certainly. And it is one of those circuits, as I mentioned earlier, with all British circuits, it's difficult to find the space with the limited length and the limited wiggle room around here. So it's something that's not going to go away over the course of the season. Woodrow can't go any quicker. Oh, just go quicker, but doesn't improve his place in the end, unfortunately for him. Stays 8th. But yeah, other than Silverstone and Spa, I can see this being a recurring problem.
Yeah, Wyan Rudrow, they're going up into P8 or holding on to P8. Exactly the same time as Matt Karski. I'll never let you forget that now.
No.
They've got exactly the same lap times, but then also just above them, Warner and Erdmann have also got exactly the same lap times, which is quite a common thing on ACC. You don't really see it anywhere else. On ACC, it's quite, quite normal to see that.
Quite bizarre though, to have it so.
Quite regular though, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe your experience is different, but I see it quite often.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you've commentated at ACC a lot more than me. To be fair, it's not my most commentated simulator, if I'm honest with you, by any means. But
Goat Simulator is yours, right?
I've never seen Goat Simulator before. Well, I've heard of it. But,
Google it.
it's that game where goats run around and flop about like I don't know what, but
yeah, you probably should stop because you're going to play something naughty.
I wasn't actually.
It's not even a naughty game.
But anyway, no, I don't know. I've not seen it so much, but as I say, I've not been on ACC quite so much either. But yes, moving on. Yeah, it's tied for the times at the moment at the top in the top 5 or so, but still 2 minutes to work it out between themselves and for one of them to improve, so we can stop talking about that.
I'm sorry, you. I got you stuck on that. My bad. Moving on then, we've got Tennis Cometto, currently 26th position overall, 3.1 seconds off of the lead. Got an indicator going on, by the way, constantly, I think, on the right-hand side of his car. You're not seeing it at the front, but if we look from the rear side, I think there's an indicator going on. There we go, look, just casually indicating every corner. Always good. Oh, here we go. So this is the final attempt then for Elvin Smith. He actually might, if he's got enough fuel, get one more in, actually, once they cross the line. So he's got a couple of seconds to play with. If this is a quick enough lap, then he absolutely will get another lap time. But he's got in behind him. Who is that? Is that Luciano Whitfoot in behind him there in the AMG? Again, he won't be gaining much of it. He's getting a little bit of a toe, but won't be so good through the corners. So yeah, Elvin Smith, final opportunity to try and get on pole position.
I don't think it's right behind. We'll get a better view here, a bit of a closer-up view in this camera angle, I think. No, I can't really see, to be honest. So we'll just have to work that out. It's one of the World of Sim Racing drivers anyway. It's either Woodrow, Sudakar or Whitbert in the pro qualifying session, of course. I reckon it could be Sudakar based on the position indicator, but who knows. Let's see if Smith's going any quicker. I think you are right, by the way. It's going to be a couple of seconds to spare when he crosses the line. So if he wants one more go at getting pole, then he might as well take it. But I think he's going to be on the pro pole position either way.
Yeah, well, Warner's still out there. Erdmann's still out there. One of those needs to improve by thousandths of a second to take their position on their own. As it stands, Warner got first, so that means he starts in 5th position. We know that Warner will get a flyer. He tends to get a really good start. Around the final corner we will come here. 9 seconds left on the clock. Yes, there will be enough time for one more lap time for Elvin Smith. Across the line he goes. Does he improve? No, he does not.
Very close.
Warner does improve. Warner moves up into 5th position. Actually, just lost out there, didn't he? Whitlock just went back up into 4th. So as quickly as he gained the spot, he lost one.
Yes, at least he separates himself from Erdmann now, who's still got the chance himself to improve, but that's a good time from Whitbert, who was at the very lower portion of the top 10 there for quite some time in that session, and eventually pulled himself out of it. So did a good job to get onto the second row, but will he stay there by the end? I'm not sure. Smith there was very close to improving on that lap, by the way. He did a 32.0, but it was quite a high 32.0. So he wasn't very far away from his personal best, and maybe he's got enough time in the car here for pole position.
You're quite slight with your commentary, Ewan, and then you say, every now and again you say something so masculine and aggressive. 32 seems to be the word. But 32! Like, yeah, there he is. Yeah,
just an accent, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just so manly in that in that moment. Love it.
Just for 2 words.
Okay, I didn't mean it like that. Elvin Smith on the final attempt here then. Is there an opportunity potentially for him to maybe get up the sharp end a bit further? He's right up where he needs to be in terms of the leader of the pros, but can he get ahead of absolutely everybody? He needs to find just over 200s per second. Across the line he would go. It is not going to be enough then. So that is it for qualifying. Kieran Prendergast got his time in very early, and it just wasn't beaten. But it is a front row for those pesky Green Astons again.
Yeah, it's a good start for the Aston Martins. There's no doubt about that. They are running well around here at Oulton Park, and the Mercedes as well. But there's nice variety in the field, I've got to say. You do have the selection of 6 manufacturers to choose from here for this championship, and we've got all of them represented, which is exactly what you want to see in a series like this. So it's brought that British GT feel to ACC, and yeah, we're getting set for our second round. There's the second race grid on your screen.
Yeah, here we go then. We've got 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes until we go green here for our formation lap, and then our second race. Looks like the clouds are definitely in. It will maybe darken up here as well. We're at 7:30 in the evening. But our front row then consists of the 2 Brabham cars. We've got Kieran Prendergast and Elvin Smith as your front 2. We've got Paduano in 3rd spot with Luciano Whitver on the right-hand side there in 4th position. We have indeed got Warner and Klaassen in 5th and 6th position. Erdmann and Machkowski are in 7th and 8th spot. Woodrow and Van Veen are 9th and indeed 10th. We then have Seiko and DeLang in 11th and 12th position. A bit further back then we have Sudakar and Tomlinson. That is your 7th row. Then we have Cosford and Manders. That is 15th and 16th. Trunley and Grant are in 17th and 18th. Then we have Bain and Kimetto in 19th and 20th. Davies and Law are in 21st and 22nd. Revelation is our 23rd car. I'm sure if we look a little bit further down, we'll get the rest of our grid. But 1 hour of racing popping up for you very, very shortly. They do have a mandatory pit stop that they have to serve. That's what the orange box in the timing tower suggests. Once that goes green, you know that they've taken it. The pit window will open with 25 minutes done of the race, and then it will close with 25 minutes left of the race. If they haven't served it, then they will receive a penalty at the end, which will be much more significant than if they did serve their pit stop. They have to refuel the car. I believe it's a litre. I don't think they have to put too much into the car, but I believe they just have to refuel the car a little bit. That is the only mandatory thing here. So Ewan, 2 minutes left to go. Can we expect it to be as exciting as the first one? I'm sure we can't have the craziness, but I'm sure the race will be pretty cool.
It's going to be difficult to be as exciting as the first one. There's no doubt about that. It was a great opening race to this championship, and it was it was always going to be difficult to top, and we certainly do have that now with the dry conditions. Is it going to rain over the course of this race? Well, we said it's pretty unlikely, and we may have already had our rain for the day, to be fair, but you just never know what's going to happen around Oulton Park. If it does, then oh, hell is going to break loose, and it's going to make that pit stop a little bit different again, because in hindsight, the mandatory pit stop didn't really affect the race too much in the opener, because everyone would have, even if there wasn't a mandatory pit stop during that hour-long race, everyone would have been in for tyres at some point anyway, and that's basically what everybody did. So, in hindsight, it didn't affect the race too much, but this one may be a bit more tactical, and that pit stop may just be a very simple litre of fuel, as you said.
Yeah, 100%. You can see we've got a few people in the chat supporting their teams. We've got Go Team Orion from Scoobs. We've got Aria who's saying Go Team SGSS. We have Dave Simracer as well supporting SGSS. Come on, if you are supporting a team here, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely get yourself involved in chat. Also, if you have any questions, you can ask away. We've got 37 seconds. They'll now be able to light their engines up once they get to the 30-second mark, and then they're good to go. They need to make sure they turn their engine on, otherwise they will start from the pits. But it is 60 minutes of racing action. Do you know what? I think that we might have some more rain, you know? The amount of rain we had earlier on, to me, suggests that it's a rainy day set up in the server setup. As it's the same server, I think the conditions could go for rain again.
It's a pretty gloomy day, and as Steve mentions to us, it's near Manchester. I live around here, and it's it's always like this. So it's bound to rain again very soon, and rain very hard. as well.
If it was a game of cricket, we'd have some reverse swing for sure, no problem, because of the cloud cover.
I do watch cricket, but I don't really understand what that means. But
Nah, don't worry.
but anyway, hopefully there's no Europeans watching who, and it's British GT, but hopefully there's no Europeans watching who really don't watch cricket at all.
No, to be fair, it's a pretty selected, it's a small
It
audience.
is.
People who like motorsports, sim racing, and cricket. There can't be many. I'm not going to lie. Right, Prendergast then will take us away here for a formation. That gets some, actually give us some nice comments, by the way, saying about the commentary. So that's always nice. Nice to know we're doing something right, I guess. Fingers crossed, everyone else agrees.
Yeah, that's well, yeah, well, what you have to hope for, isn't it, when you're doing these kind of things? But yeah, it's been very enjoyable. I've got to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed the first race. Another hour coming up here to enjoy, and I'm sure it is going to be just as good. Whether it's going to be better or not remains to be seen, because it will be very tricky to do so. But maybe a dry weather race will offer us something different. But as I said, maybe a bit more tactical when we get into that pit stop phase than what we saw, which is just sort of condition management, really, in that first race.
Well, Adam at SGP has just confirmed that like there's randomness and who knows what weather can happen, and I love that. You know, there's a lot of series that kind of select a set weather. You know, everyone knows kind of what to expect. Randomness for me is close to what you'll get in real life. You know, like you've just mentioned, the area we are in the UK. In real life, it can just change on a dime. The weather, like this looks like a summer's day for me in the UK, so this could be absolutely anything. We could get some sun come through those clouds, but ultimately we could indeed get ourselves some weather. The sun, well, it didn't even last the race. Didn't even get into the race this time round for lap 1 without that tyre little wall mini bollard thing getting hit out of the way. So that's always good. At least we won't see it being flying across the track at the start of the race.
Exactly, and now that it's there, it might be properly out of the way for everybody now, and it might not find its way onto the road as it did in the first race, which would be an advantage.
Very true indeed. Right, a couple of corners to go before we get into round number 2. Just like that, honestly, it's flown by today. We're into round 2 already of the British GT Esports Cup 2024, the second of our 60-minute races. Kieran Prendergast is on pole position on the left-hand side of your screen at the timing tower. You can see that they have a race number. If it's red behind their race number, that means they are an AM driver. If it's white, that means that they are a pro driver. As you can see, the ability is completely spread. We have got AMs racing against pros. But if you finish P1 in your class, you will get 119 points. The battle between the classes doesn't matter. I guess it's pretty cool for an overall race victory, I guess. But right now, you're looking to win the battle of your class. Prendergast will take us away once again. Smith will be in second once again. The one thing they don't have to contend with is Warner potentially making it 3 wide to turn number 1. But here we go, 60 minutes of racing for round 2 of the British GT Esports Cup 2024 is underway, and Prendergast gets a beautiful start. So does Elvin Smith, although there's a slight move there from Paduano up the inside. I think Whitford actually might have to sweep around. We've got up to third as we see a little bit of carnage in the background. No, Whitford's dropped down to 4th position actually. It looks like Warner has made up 1 position. Yeah, there we go. You can see the Aston Martin now up into P4. But again, Kieran Prendergast leading the way. Beautiful start.
Yeah, great start for Brabham again. He is so good off these starts, is Prendergast, and he did a very good job for quite some time in the opening race of the season. Hopefully he can do that again now as we get things underway for the second race as well. He's got Smith right behind him on this occasion, but Warner is starting to make some moves and starting to move through the field. Now up into 4th place already. Vitbert right behind, then Clarkson. 2 World of Sim Racing drivers and World of Racing drivers, I should say, although not driving for the same team quite, in 5th and 6th position in the field.
Yeah, no, they've got just slightly different coloured liveries. We expect them to be quite nice to each other, though. But then who knows? After what we saw in race number 1, who knows who's friends on this grid? It could be the best of enemies. It was, it was an interesting start to the championship, and I certainly enjoyed it. Through then the final few corners, heading up towards the final turn actually, and it's a good start from Paduano. Paduano getting into that P3, holding on to that P3. Whitford's really the only one that lost out of the top 4. Warner making that 1 position up, and well, Warner went from P3 up to P2, then managed to go all the way down to P11 at some point, and then go out and win the race. So right now, this should be a walk in the park from P4.
You'd think so, but based on last race, he's got some bad luck going his way soon before he's able to make his way up through the field. If we're, of course, basing it on what happened one race ago, he'll be hoping that his pass to the front is maybe a little bit less exciting and less dramatic than that first race, and maybe he can stay up there with Maszkowski as well, who got a drive-through penalty fairly late on in that race in the other Apex 1 car. If they can both get up there and score some good points for Apex 1.
Yeah, exactly that. There is a team championship as well, where pros are partnered with a cam driver. That's where you're going to earn the prize in terms of going to some of the biggest races in British Motorsports, British GT, races of hospitality. That's nice snacks and drinks as well as watching the race along the way, so that's always good. Heading then down towards the second set chicane to the back end of this circuit. Well, it's a very patient drive right now from Paduano. And I think the interesting factor here is the AMG did look very quick in dry conditions, maybe a little bit quicker than the Aston. So over a long stint, does Paduano have a bit of an opportunity?
Maybe. He certainly is more suited to these dry weather conditions than he was the wet weather. Clearly that first qualifying session and that first race was him being held back by the conditions, but his car specifically is working better in the dry conditions. Whether it's a Mercedes thing or not, I'm not sure. I think the Aston Martin and Mercedes have been pretty well matched throughout the entirety of today. It's been the other manufacturers who have got some work to do to catch up. Yellow flags up ahead here already. The Lamborghini of the field is off to the side of the road.
Who that is, well, I'm assuming they're down at the back end of the grid, but they're off the track there on the exit of turn number 1, and luckily not in the middle of the circuit, so no one's been affected by that. We are good and golden. Tomlinson, the number 1 car, oh, off the track we go, a bit further back. Who is that? It's Erdmann. Wow, Erdmann was right at the sharp end, battling for big points last time out, and unfortunately, with this race being a lot cleaner at the start, he's going to find himself all the way back down the back of the order. That is not a good start there from Erdmann. Paduano is now realistically fighting for Chris Warner is off as well. So Warner into the hairpin, who was P4. Is he going to end up down into P11 again? I think he is. Oh no, he's down to P10. So he's gone down to P10, and he's going to have to fight again, just like he did in race number 1, if he is to take victory again. But it's just a perfect start for the front 3 as it stands, and everyone else just seems to be falling the wayside.
There it is. Chris Warner would have been hoping for a maybe simpler race this time around to the front of the field, but that's not happened quite clearly. And he's dropped down to the lower point of the top 10. There's certainly been drama off the start here, despite the conditions. This is the number 4 car. This is Warner, and he does slow it down enough. The grass, of course, a bit drier now, and the conditions dry as well. And he rejoins nicely too. Doesn't go straight in front of everybody on the racing line.
Yeah, it's good from him. Yeah, well, not good from him, sorry, but good rejoin, and ultimately not costing anyone else any time in this race. And the real winners in this situation, well, it's Elvin Smith. Elvin Smith, if he is to get a big result here, and Chris Warner doesn't finish in sort of top 5, meaning Elvin will probably take the lead of this championship heading into round number 3, as there's a Lambo again off the circuit. Like, yes. Not ideal. It's like rallycross around Old Pub. I'm just hoping they don't get involved with any of the battling near the front. SGP Adam, by the way, figuring out that you can't write VOD without Hamilton popping up on Twitch. Which is nice. I always find it funny when people realise that. It's the racing community, you get a new one every now and again.
Why does it do that? That's just weird.
It's a pop hammer.
Well, yeah, but we don't. Well, yeah.
Oh!
Anyway. Oh dear, Cody Cosford off the road for World of Racing at the hairpin again, that looked like there. Sort of through the 2 tyre walls that you've got to slalom through when you're rejoining there. Not sure whether he crashed into one of them trying to do that, or whether that was just a spin he came to arrest there.
No, yeah. Whatever it wasn't ideal. That's realistically what we've taken this. Prendergast, by the way, moving down the order. I'm literally viewing him right now in the lead of this race, so I'm not sure what's happening here. Anyway, heading to another replay. So this is what we saw from Cody. It's exactly the same as what we saw from Warner, right? A little bit of a bounce there. He just doesn't, he wasn't able to get under control. Just a little point into the wall at the back end. So nothing really bruised apart from maybe the ego a touch. The rejoin, I think, was pretty solid. Yeah, pretty relative. Oh, there we go.
Oh dear.
And that's a great overtake. What a move!
Oh, it's side by side here for second place. This is Smith and Paduano, as Prendergast has completely disappeared from our view. This is the new battle for the race lead.
Yeah, Prendergast, I don't think we were live. I think Prendergast has made a mistake somewhere. So we weren't live when we were looking at him being in the lead of this race, and he's dropped down the order. So whether he's dropped out or, you know, whether he's made a mistake somewhere, the question is, he is not in the server anymore. I think he's dropped out. I think he's disconnected. So race winner from the previous race is unfortunately no longer in this. So our 2 race winners, Chris Warner's dropped down to 8th position, 5th overall in the pro class, and Prendergast, who won for the AMS, neither of them right now battling for the lead.
No, and that's going to drop, obviously, Prendergast a long way back. However, I can't see any minimum laps required to be classified in a race. So I think if he can get back and just finish, although it doesn't even say anything about finishing, it just says position in the race. So he might even get points whether he finishes or not. Nevertheless, even if he does finish, he'll be well outside the top 10. Probably outside the top 15, and you'd probably lose over 100 points for finishing down in around the region that Prendergast is in at the moment.
Yeah, we're about to see P21 here, so number 23. Just turning a little bit too quickly there, and less than ideal. And it's an AMG party down there at turn number 3. Yeah, not ideal. But yeah, Kieran Prendergast, it is just a case of get back in the server. Top 20 score points. There's only 20 drivers. The Lamborghini's there again. Like, I don't know what we could do about that Lambo, but seeing that in the first sector every lap is pretty scary, if I'm honest. Seiko, we're on board with Seiko now, who is into P9. There's the Lambo again. But yeah, Seiko currently in that 9th position, trying to make a few moves up here. And, you know, with lots of these big name drivers making mistakes or having issues, just opens up the opportunity. Luciano Whitfoot now currently into P3. Warner, after dropping down to 10th, is up to P6. So there are chances for people to make up positions.
Certainly are. Lots of battles still happening. Maszkowski not far behind Klassen here for 4th place, being one of them. And then there's a lap car behind them. That lap car came out the pit lane not so long ago. And so that is not Warner. Warner and Maszkowski are, of course, teammates. And they're both running 3rd in their respective classes. Warner has made up I think 2 places, isn't he, in the recent past, while actually not making any overtakes that we've seen. He's just benefited from other people's problems again to gain some places, and now 6th.
And he will not care one iota either. After that mistake he made earlier on, he'll just be, you know, hoping that other people end up facing the wrong way at this stage. Just again save his blushes, maybe make a bit of a charge in the second half as we did in the first race. How looks like it's getting maybe a little bit darker. Of course it is the evening as well, so it will get a bit gloomy out there. Is there a chance? The most interesting thing would be if it absolutely belted it down right now, because there's no pit window open, meaning they'd have to come to the pits, but then also pit again during the pit window. So this would be the perfect time for rain. Although it does actually look like there might be the sun just cracking through the clouds. We saw just through turn number 2 there, a little glisten onto the track. So maybe it's actually starting to maybe brighten up. I mean that by the clouds dispersing, but it's also going to get darker because it's quite late in the evening. Tough one to be done.
Yeah, brighten up in northwest standard. There's the sunshine. Look,
oh,
that's more sunshine than I've seen for weeks. So I'll take that. That's absolutely fantastic. But
that's because you're in a basement.
Thanks. But yes, it's breaking through briefly just as the sun dips below the horizon. And by the way, as I'm sure you've noticed already, everyone watching at home, that the date in Sim is not the current date. It's a date in the summer, which means we get a lot more daylight, than you get at the moment, which is of course a lot of darkness. We would be probably in the darkness for the first race, actually, given we started that at 4 PM.
Yeah, we would have been. You're not wrong. Would have finished in the darkness, that's for sure. We're on board then with Sudakar, who's in behind Seiko. They've got Woodrow battling up front ahead of them with Van Veen. So they're battling for 7th. This is actually a battle for 9th as it stands. And we've got 4 Mercedes, all 3 Mercedes battling for position as we come then around the final corner. It's a nice line there from Sudakar. Just turns in a little bit later. There's Chris Warner, who's just put in the fastest lap of the race. He's got a bit of track in front of him to work with here. Max Costa 3.3 seconds up the road. So Warner right now, just getting his head down and maybe bringing himself back into the hunt for a potential race victory.
And unlike last race, that might be difficult to beat
Whoa.
now. But oh my God, 3 wide just up in front of them. What was going on there? Klassen, Maszkowski and Whitman all went into one corner at once, and surely they didn't all make it through there. They did. My goodness.
That is outrageous. We need to see that again. I beg that we didn't get to see that again. Because you cannot go through there. Well, I struggled to go through there on my own, let alone with 2 people, and then 3, and they've managed to come out the other end all smiling. That was outrageous there. Nice bit of driving. I have no idea what that actually meant, to be completely honest, in terms of who ends up where. But Paduano and indeed Smith have now got themselves about a 6.8-second advantage over Klaassen. Matchkowski now the meat in the Mercedes sandwich, and Whitford now into P5. I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, and we will get to very shortly. But I think in all of that, nobody actually changed positions, somewhat remarkably. I think Klaassen was leading them, and Matchkowski trying to take that second in class away from him, and Whitford trying to get through to gain some places. This is the moment. So it was a brief 3-wide moment. It was Klaassen eventually round the outside of Matchkowski, and Whitford rather sensibly backing out of it all.
Yeah, I think Whitford backed out perfectly. He backed out before they got through the left-hander, or even entertained the left-hander, and realised that this race is a lot longer than 10 minutes. So he might have just saved all 3 of their races. I think if he commits there, all 3 of them end up somewhere, maybe in that lake. All 3 of them will end up in that lake somewhere. But ultimately, they are all still facing in the right direction. This time, it's going to be as spicy coming through there. But fair play. You know, they are fighting for position. The real winner in that situation, by the way, was Warner. He's gained 2 seconds on this group just by them having shenanigans. Oh, another on board. Oh, here we go. So, yeah, Whitford just backs out of it. You can see Klaassen managing to hold on to the position. He goes a little bit deep under braking with Whitford, but ultimately gets it stopped. Matchkowski then just filtering in the middle there. Beautiful stuff from all 3 drivers. We've seen some of the worst driving in the first race, and then we've just had that, which is some of the best driving you're likely to see. Lovely.
Yeah, who said you can't overtake at Oulton Park and it's always single file? Well, I did earlier, I admit that.
Well,
but
to be fair, like you said, Ewan, no one changed position, so technically,
that
still
is
can't
true.
overtake.
Well, I think that's a bit harsh on them, really, given the fact they just went 3 wide at Oulton Park. Great driving for the 3 of them, but as I said, they didn't actually change position, I suppose, in the end. There's certainly scope for this battle to change, though. Whitford has just backed off. Actually, he's taken that backing off to a bit of an extreme now. He's let 3/4 of a second open up in front. In fact, it's Klaassen and Matchkowski who have got the speed over him right now. This is a look at turn 4 again. This is what normally happens through here.
Yeah, I told you guys, it's sometimes difficult to go through it on your own, let alone 3 wide. And number 15 car, we're going to get stopped before the barrier. Whoa, no drama.
No hit on the wall, which is the main thing. Klaassen's got 5 seconds worth of penalty here as well. Don't know how long that's been there for him, or what that's for indeed.
Oh, yeah, no, he does have a penalty. I'm wondering whether them going 3 wide was a result of some contact, because it's very difficult to get a good exit out of a very fast corner which turns 3, to then position yourself to make a move. So obviously something's gone awry. We'll see exactly what happened, because it'll pop up in a little green box on our right hand side in a minute. But for the time being, maybe said some naughty words to fellow drivers.
I mean, that is one of the rules, to be fair.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're not meant to I can't remember what the phrasing is, but you're not meant to be, abusing other drivers. That's quite extreme, but you know what I mean. You're not allowed to do that. That's part of the rules. There's the contacts penalties for everybody.
Blocking.
Klaassen's was for blocking, so that's maybe what we saw actually.
Yeah, wow, okay, so, blocking, it's the first time we've seen some blocking, and you're going to get penalties. Like, you can't just go out there and just move left and right over the circuit, especially around here. That's obviously a massive advantage around circuits such as Oulton Park, if you just veer left and right, because you can defend pretty much everywhere. Another unsafe rejoin, number 10, that's a 5-second time penalty. Number 10.
Neto.
Yeah, there we go, Neto down in P22 in the Aston Martin. But this cluster of 4 Mercedes were aboard again through the car. He's in behind Seiko. They've actually closed in on Woodrow and Van Veen, looking to try and move their way up. And they're about 8 seconds then further back from Warner. Warner is very close indeed to catching this group. One more with Matchkowski though, who's looking to try and get a move done on Klaassen. Klaassen already with that 5-second penalty for blocking. So you know right now that if there's an opportunity for Matchkowski to make a move, he will not be defended against aggressive.
So right now, this battle will just continue on again and again, and I can't see this splitting up for quite some time, if I'm honest. It's been going on for about a quarter of an hour now, but surely it's going to have to take the pit stops to separate these lot, and it will put, by the looks of things, Klaassen to the back of the group, which is, I feel like from memory, exactly what happened in the first race. Klaassen had a 5 seconds worth of a penalty, pitted, and was scheduled to go to the back of the group, but actually because he pitted so early and put the dryers on, he actually undercut everyone, and so his penalty didn't matter, but he's not going to be able to offset his penalty really at all in this race. I don't know how he's going to manage that, really.
He also threw it to the gravel and then rejoined, took 2 Astons out in the second half of the race as well. So he kind of gave us entertainment by his pace and by an altercation with drivers that were P2 and P3 at the time. So he was quite comfortably in the lead and ultimately dropped it off the track through turn number 4, which is not ideal. But holding on very nicely now, making that Mercedes as wide as possible. Maczkowski is going to see that 5-second penalty and just be like, oh man, like just let me go by. You've got a penalty anyway. Like, I'm going to get this overtake. This is just hemorrhaging time. And Clarkson doesn't have to do something. He can serve that penalty in the pit stop. He does not have to give up any position.
No, he doesn't have to for now, but he may have no choice in about 7.5 minutes' time when we open the pit window for the final time tonight. So, barring any penalties for the 3 behind, you'd imagine Maczkowski and Warner will be fighting for this 3rd place very shortly. I wonder how this changes the group though, because that does essentially mean that Maczkowski's nearest rival behind him is what, Law down in 18th place. That's a very long way away from him.
Yeah, no, it's a fair gap, isn't it? It does go to show that the pros are, you know, more pro-y than what some of the AMs are, of course. That's how it's supposed to be, but there are just a couple of anomalies within Championship Padawan class, and Maczkowski being both anomalies very good indeed. Again, Warner, as much as he's managed to catch up to this pack, he's now kind of just hit a bit of a brick wall. Very difficult to make an overtake around Oulton Park, and I think he will be hoping pit window opens up very, very quickly so he can get into the pit and maybe try and use strategy to his aid.
Yeah, we'll see. Warner is getting closer and closer to this move. Looks to the outside at Lodge Corner and is going to go for the cutback. This is textbook. Whitford just went far too deep into the final turn, and that was one of the easier passes that Warner will have to make. So he's actually moved now up to 2nd place in Pro.
Yeah, and again, Luciano Whitford, who, there's the Rogue Lambo, by the way, in the background. Yeah, Luciano Whitford has done 2 things very impressive for me. One, in the 3 wide, he backed out of it and, you know, ultimately, I think, saved all of the cars there. And there, he didn't fight that. He let Warner go. I think he realises that Warner's quick. And the further we go into this race, maybe he gets dragged along now behind Warner, gets you know, into the toe of that Aston Martin. He knows how good Warner is. Warner's a race winner, and I think he will expect Warner to make an overtake on the 2 cars in front, and then maybe he can get involved and gain a couple of spots himself. So by letting him go, he might end up gaining a couple of spots and taking advantage.
Maybe. Let's see how this group sort of develops over the remainder of the race here, because there's still a very long way to go. And I wonder how much pace Warner actually has here. I mean, has this chance for a 2nd race win already gone with the gap to Smith so large at this stage? It's over 10 seconds, 12 seconds up to Smith, even more than that. Surely that's a gap too big for even him to cross now.
Yeah, but we saw so many drivers receiving drive-through penalties for track limits in the second half of the, or second phase of the race after the pit stop phase. So that is a possibility. You've got to keep it between those white lines. No matter how fast you are, a drive-through will absolutely kill your chances of a race victory. So Elvin will definitely be wary of that. He's flying. Currently got the fastest lap of the race as well. You see that purple covering of his number, or the position, sorry, should I say. At least he has got the fastest lap of the race. On board with Maczkowski. Maczkowski looking to try and move up into a top 3. He will naturally gain that via the pit stop phase with that 5 penalty hanging over the head of Clarkson. But yeah, I think this is an entirely different proposition for our drivers this time round. With the tyre situation of race 1 where it's really drying towards the end of the pit stop window, everyone had to kind of wait until the last second to pit, and then ultimately make the decision for them whether they have to change tyres or not. This time round, I don't think anyone's going to change tyres, but drivers will come in early to maybe try and jump cars or stay out late to try the overcut. The overcut, ironically, should be the play.
It could be. I mean, this was sort of referencing earlier on about the fact that this race is going to be a little bit more tactical. The first race was a bit carnage sometimes. There was a lot of people going off, and thankfully we're seeing a bit of a cleaner 2nd race here. We've gotten off to a nicer start, some good racing as well on a dry circuit, but that means that the pit stop phase, as you were alluding to, is going to be more tactical here. There's going to be more games played over the course of the 10 minutes, whereas before everyone was just kind of waiting for the track to be dry enough for dry tyres, and in effect it felt like a normal hour-long race where there were no pit stops, but there was a weather change where everyone was just waiting for the crossover point. That's effectively what happened in the first race. This second one's going to feel a little bit different when there's more tactics involved, and it sort of, in one sense, it doesn't matter when in the 10 minutes you come in, but in another sense it absolutely does matter. If you're going to make up some places, it absolutely does matter when you come in versus when you stay out.
Yeah, I will say one thing, the tyre pressures, that's the biggest thing in terms of ACC. So if you come in earlier, we might see a potential move. Oh, almost a bit of contact there. You see Matchkowski is just almost desperate now to make himself an opportunity to come through the hairpin. Does Klaassen run out deep? He does not, hold on to that position. But again, they're going to lose time to that front two. But yeah, it's pressures in the tyres that really is the key factor. And once you come into the pits, those pressures do indeed drop. And it takes a couple of laps to get back up. So that's why the overcut is so significant. So yeah, sometimes if you're behind, you've got to take that chance and just try and get some clear air, maybe back your own pace. But the overcut, realistically, is the stronger of the options. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the latest update, actually, which was only a couple of weeks ago, has changed that. But for me, the tyre pressure situation is key.
Well, the thing as well is when you're going for that undercut or looking to go for an undercut, it's not only about the time you might gain with some new tyres versus sorry, not some new tyres. We would be surprised to see someone do that. But with the pit stop, can they gain anything in that respect? But they've also got to think about where you're going to come out. Where, who are you going to be behind? Because realistically, this field is so full and this track's so short that almost every corner of this racetrack is covered with a car at some point. And so you've got to really think about who you're going to be behind. Are you going to get stuck behind someone? Because especially when you pit as well, you'll be stuck behind someone for an actual position. They won't have to get out of the way of you because of blue flags or anything. They will have a legitimate right to try and hang on to that position if they want to. And that could be a problem for someone pitting a bit early versus someone who pit later. Whereas he might have someone with a lot of lap traffic around after they've made their stops from further back and they're being put a lap down. But that's easier to contend with than having to overtake some people for actual positions if you pit too early.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Again, it's a fine balance, isn't it? This is where sometimes it's not necessarily about your outright pace, it's about you managing the race with your brain and utilising, your experience of a particular circuit, particular weather, a particular car, a particular setup. The one thing I do know is that Klaassen will fall behind everybody. He will fall behind Matchkowski, Warner, as well as Luciano Whitford. So that 5-second penalty is going to be very much that pit window will be open by the time they come around the start-finish line. I'm not sure that's the case for the leaders. The leaders will have to wait another lap. But that would have been interesting. If there was a weather change around this period, that could have been massive for the leaders if they weren't able to pit what this group were. In terms of if it started raining or something like that, that's not the case. So yeah, maybe watch out for that a little bit later on in this season. But as they come across the line, there is a move. It's Matchkowski, so he brings it into the pit lane. Everybody else is focused on just carrying on. This is an opportunity for Warner to close that gap that was filled with an Aston Martin of his teammate, and maybe a chance to indeed close that gap. And already you can see he's filled that void with that Aston Martin disappearing into the pit.
Yeah, so he's managed to get a bit closer, sort of free time there, and maybe that's sort of what they're hoping for. They're sort of organically get them to swap places. And Matchkowski there with a very short stop, and looks like he might have even only dropped to 6th place. That's how short the stops are going to be now that you don't have to change any tyres with changing conditions. No, in fact, he did go behind Woodrow, and it is indeed behind that entire group there in the battle for 6th place. In fact, he's quite a long way back. There you go, 12th position now. But either way, he's not lost heaps and heaps of time, especially not compared to what we saw last race, where they were losing well over half a minute.
No, 100%. Matchkowski, I think, must have had his pit box before the start-finish line. So once he then crossed the timing beam, it registers exactly where he is on track. That's why he's dropped down so much, and a little bit later on. Be interested to see who tries to respond to this. Again, I think Klaassen, of course, we know is going to lose that time. Whitford, naturally, and Warner, if they stay out longer, I think naturally they're going to get ahead of him. We'll see. I guess we'll find out. Or whether Klaassen almost parks the bus and cost them all a load of time. Come up then towards the pit once again, and no one decided to come in. Whitman decided to bring the car into the pit. In a rearview mirror, no one's not. And right now, Warner is going to send it through turn number 1, bang onto the apex there. And I tell you what, that is delicious. Not the first time we've seen him make an incredible move through turn number 1. This time it took a little bit longer than last time round. It was actually turn 1, lap 1. But this time we're on lap 17 and makes the move up into what will be P3. Now he can try and close down the gap to the leaders, which they are miles up the road. But this is now vital laps for Chris Warner to whether he can go out ahead of Matchbox.
Yeah, they are. And I would imagine he'll be able to, but let's see again just how he made it. We were on board at the time. It was a pretty late one actually, but he was more than entitled to go down the inside here, late on the brakes. And I think some plaudits have to go to Clarkson as well for giving him the room there. He could have turned across and turned straight into the side of Warner there and said, why are you diving down the inside of me there? But he gave him the room, gave him the respect. And in fact, the two of them gave each other racing room, and it was great to see. Very clean through turn 1. And that is a position now for Chris Warner, and one that is, well, it has been coming for quite a while.
Yeah, and as it stands, I think Warner would be second in this race, and Elvin Smith would be first. And that would mean they'd both be tied on points, because that's the reverse order that they finished in the previous race, as it stands. I wonder if Prendergast managed to get back into the server. We can check that out. So I wonder if he managed to get back in. If he did, that means he is going to score points, but he will lose the lead of this championship, but not, yeah, it's not going to be as clear-cut. Paduano, I think, may take the lead, or maybe even Clarkson. And come to think of it, it probably would end up being Matchkowski. So one of those three would take the lead of this championship heading into round number 3. But yeah, very interesting stuff as it stands. Any one of these three could decide to come in. We've got Van Veen leading this trio, and we've got Supercar in 8th, and Amanda's does need to stay out. The lead group, none of them have come in again. They're waiting right to the last second.
Yeah, I don't really see the benefit of leaving it right to the very last lap like I did see it in the first race, but maybe if you're, I suppose if you're in clean air, then there's no real point in coming in, is there, at this stage? You might as well stay out there. It's not as if, as I said earlier, you're putting on new tyres and there's some benefit to be gained by getting onto them or getting off of old tyres, which is what drivers are normally attempting to do. But anyway, they'll leave it a bit longer. We're still not yet halfway through this opening race of, the second race of the evening, and we are still half an hour away from the name of the race winner for the second time. 22 car gets a 5-second penalty for unpredictable driving under blue flags, which has been a talking point today. Lots of blue flags being shown.
Yeah, 100%. That is a fact. Paduano's now being gapped a little bit by Elvin Smith here. I'm not sure exactly who the 22 is. They're beyond the P23 as it stands, so we don't know exactly who they are, but I'm sure we'll see them across the rest of this race. Elvin Smith, though, this is looking like a brilliant race performance. The race one was a little bit scrappy, and, you know, not always Elvin's fault at the end. Obviously, Clarkson had a little bit of fun with them on the exit of the next corner. We're coming up towards the hairpin now from the lead, but this time round hasn't had anyone throw their car at him. So right now leading the way, looking relatively good, and even P2 isn't in the same class, so it's an AM driver in P2. So I think what 15-second advantage. So Elvin just needs to chill out now. Half the race left to go. Don't do anything too crazy, and you're going to pick up your first victory of the season.
Looks that way. Paduano can, well, have the same said to him, really. He's got 16.5 seconds ahead of Clarkson, who's his nearest rival in class, and both of the class leaders are looking very safe. How much do these two actually want to win overall? Well, there is going to be some of that, I think, but I don't think it's going to overpower them to do something stupid in this race. They are going to protect their class wins first of all before going for the overall win, which is something nice to have for either of them, but I don't think they're going to risk it all for an overall win.
No, they're not going to be too worried about that. I doubt it. Although, you know, any competitive sport, you want to be the best out there if you possibly can be. So I guess it will be slightly in the back of their head. Because Elvin Smith brings the car into the pits. Paduano is going to stay out for one more lap. This is the perfect lead of the race. I believe Paduano will have to come in next time round. It'll be really tight, but I believe he will have to come in. Otherwise, the pit window will be cycled through. No, actually, no, he won't. Still could do one more after this.
Yeah.
Elvin is already done and dusted. He's done his 1 litre of fuel, as you can see We've got one of the engineers there crunching the numbers on the pit box on the exit. Yeah, Elvin Smith looking good here. I find it very hard to believe that anybody's going to be able to challenge him in this race.
Yeah, I think so. Ahead of the likes of Woodrow and Van Veen before they've even made their stop. Van Veen does now make his. Warner doing also. However, yeah, it should be race lead again for Elvin Smith, although we said that for a long time about Kieran Prendergast in the opening race, and then he had an incident with a lap car. There is Elvin Smith negotiating one of those. Could have been number 9 of Mac, but I'm probably not entirely sure about that one. One of the McLarens either way, but having a bit of a difficult time through that chicane, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I held my breath. Not gonna lie, I did hold my breath there. As there's nothing to see in the background. No one saw it. It's fine. We move on. Elvin Smith is currently in P4. You didn't see that, did you? Ewan?
No, I didn't.
Okay, cool. We'd have to mention it then. But yeah, Elvin's actually catching up to the group behind now. So he's got Whitford and Clarkson 3.7 seconds up the road as Paduano does indeed bring the car into the pits now. So Wilf into the pits, and he won't gain much time on Elvin. If anything, he might gain a couple of tenths of a second gap. I believe 2.2. Ultimately, it will be around about the same gap, I would imagine, as Clarkson brings the car into the pits. It's going to be a freebie to Whitford here, but now this is where it's going to be interesting. Does Machkowski get ahead of him? We know that we will have Warner. Warner will be ahead, although Warner's behind Manders now, and Tom. Well, what's happened to Warner?
He hasn't changed tyres, has he? That's too long for a change of tyres.
Yeah, he's dropped massively down the order here.
Yeah.
I wonder if he may have had tyres checked by accident.
Yeah, but that's 25 seconds. It seems too long almost for it to be tyres.
Tyres is 24 seconds, is it not?
Oh, well, maybe that makes sense then.
That would make sense then, right? Plus the fuel, 25 seconds. I think that is what's happened here. I think Chris Warner's accidentally changed tyres.
Well, I'll do the maths again when the pit cycle is sort of shaking itself out, because there is Erdmann who's disrupting all of the timing at the moment by being in the pit lane. So that's not helping me. But afterwards, I'll try and figure it out and see where he should be. Can he make a difference with those tyres? We suspect that it's not going to make much of a difference, but if he can make it work, then fair enough. It's just the track position that's difficult to combat around here. The lack of track position he'll have will be difficult to overcome.
Yeah, and you've got, effectively, if he is 25 seconds worse off than where he was, you've then got to catch up maybe 2 seconds a lap. Oh no, hold on, yeah, almost 2 seconds a lap. Like, that's almost impossible. What lap time are they running right now? It will pop up on the bottom right.
130 odd.
Yeah, well, they're still doing 133s, I would imagine. Oh, sorry, no, a little bit less than that, like 132s in this race. And unless he's doing 130s flats, he's not really catching up. So yeah, I think it must be a mistake. It's an accident, you know, I've left him checked, if you like.
Yeah, it's easy to do, easy to make that mistake. It sounds pretty comical, really, when you're not driving, you're not sat there, but with all the other things going on, it is easy to do. So, you know, not going to cast judgment too much there. So Elvin Smith leads. Paduano's a long way behind him as well at this stage. The gap was only about 2 seconds beforehand, but Paduano is still yet to complete the first sector on the lap. He's only 1.6 and 16 seconds between those two. Machkowski only a second and a half behind him, so maybe we've got an AM leading battle coming here.
I think Paduano's done the same. I think he's changed his tyres.
Not all of them though, surely.
I don't think there's an option of changing two, mate. I think all of them or nothing.
Oh, what's he done? Where's he lost all these quarter of a minute from?
Slightly worried though that Steve just said in our ear that that's also the case. That might be wrong. I don't know. The fact that he's agreeing with me, I'm a bit worried.
Steve got one thing wrong in the first part of the broadcast, and now he's getting pelters for the rest of it.
It's normally Mike that gets the pelters, but Steve's the only one I can fire on that today. So it's all on him.
He's been through it today. But yeah, I'll try and work out now how far Warner is behind where he should be at the moment. I reckon it is exactly the 24 seconds that you mentioned for the tyre change. So I think that's what's happened to him. And I think your 2 seconds of that theory is maybe a bit over the top, but a second and a half certainly he's going to need to make up.
I reckon Paduano's at the moment somewhere or got involved.
Yeah.
That's what's happened here. Because 16 seconds isn't a tyre change. I don't think it's long enough for that tyre change. But again, I believe it's around 24 seconds. And I don't know why that number's in my head. I'm pretty sure it's around 24 seconds for a tyre change. But I could be completely wrong again. There's people in the chat that can clarify that 100% and help me out a touch. But yeah, I think Padawan may have had a bit of a moment here.
I guess it's more plausible, isn't it, really, than a tyre change in the situation that we've bound ourselves. So it certainly made things more interesting. 1.1 seconds, but Matkowski very nearly find himself straight off the road there at the hairpin, and probably lost a bit of time doing that.
Yeah, well, he's fighting, that's for sure. He's pushing as best he possibly can. As you can see, the boxes with the race number Padawan and Matkowski are the same colour. They're red, so they are battling for the race win in the AMS. Elvin Smith is just looking golden here. He's going to be, I reckon, 20 seconds up the road by the time this race is all said and done, maybe even a bit more. Matkowski was 2 seconds behind, now he's 1.1 seconds behind Padawan. So we are going to see that battle for the lead here. And Klaassen, well, it's a bit of Klaassen is over that final podium spot. Whitfoot has got about 15 seconds ahead of Ryan Woodrow, who's currently in 3rd spot for the Pro Division. Then you've got Sudakar, who's moved up into 4th spot, effectively, in the Pros. So a really good drive from him. Van Veen is 5th. You then got Tomlinson, Manders, and then Warner. So Warner fighting his way through. He's quick, by the way. Warner is absolutely flying, but again, not quite that 2 seconds back.
Not quite. He's not going to get to where he was before, and I think, as you said, it was a mistake on his part that he did change those tyres. Tomlinson's pretty close to Van Veen as well as this battle for 6th place on your screen, and then you've got Warner, who's just got past Manders, so that was a battle for 10th place, but that's a pretty one-sided one. Someone's gone straight through the polystyrene brake markers there at the final corner, and it's all over the road now.
Yeah, so we've got Sudakar. This is a battle for the podium position for the Pro class. Sudakar will want to get involved here. They're both running similar livery, so we'll keep an eye on the timing tower for this one, see exactly how it plays out with Sudakar. It's just had a really, really solid race this time round. Been involved in a battle pretty much the entirety of the race, kept himself out of trouble, now pushing towards that podium spot. It looks like the top 3 in the AMS are pretty much nailed on, as we see Tomlinson and Van Veen side by side through the sweeping left-hander, and Van Veen, maybe, just maybe, it's just made overtake of the day. Beautiful stuff there from the AMG driver, and he will move up into P8.
Very nice move, and difficult place to do it as well, which makes it all the more impressive. So up to 8th position now. That puts, what, 6 Mercedes inside the top 8, which is very nice to see for them. And there's Warner in 10th place, trying to chase them down. I reckon he'll get to those guys by the time this race ends, but if he'd have not changed tyres, he probably would have been fighting for an overall podium right now.
Yeah, this is going to hand Elvin Smith the championship lead of the Pros, though. That's the big factor here. So Warner, maybe it was a strategy call from him. He's just decided, you know what, I'm going to be quick at the end of this race, and hopefully the drop off at the end is, you know, obviously if people haven't changed tyres, they're going to be slower now, but they're going to get more. They're going to get even more slower, right? They're going to get even slower as the race progresses on. Maybe the last 10 minutes there is a world where he manages to make up a crazy amount of positions, but just, yeah, I don't really see it as it stands. Ryan Woodrow catching up to Klaassen, 16 seconds, now it's 14.6. So he's definitely making up some time. He's actually dragging along as well. Here we go. Here is that move then through the sweeping left hand of turn number 4. And that is beautiful. Both drivers need to take a little bit of a battle there. It takes 2 to tango through there. It's so easy to go off there. We've seen so many drivers go off on their own through that corner. We've seen the 3 wide through there at one point, and now we've just seen a really nice overtake there. So, yeah, I tip my hat to you, Van Veen. And it's also a great name.
Yeah, it's easy for us to say, despite being a non-English name, so that we can appreciate that. Also we can. So there we are. But good move as well, and as we've mentioned, spoke about so many times, difficult corner, even on your own. How many more moves are we going to get around that corner, I wonder? Well, it's going to be probably few and far between, and I can't imagine that's going to be Matkowski's first place on his list of places to strike here, although I don't know where would be your first place on this circuit, because it is so difficult. You just got to keep probing everywhere and take your chances when you can.
Yeah, well, as soon as the driver in front of you makes a mistake, really, you've got to get yourself ahead. You might not get another opportunity as soon as you possibly can. That's my answer to that one. We've just less than 20 minutes left on the clock, 18 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. Away from Padawan to make an error. I think the only error he's done really is being slow and being told it's fast. 30 seconds now. Just 2 seconds behind. Apparently for the lead overall. Now he finds himself 6 seconds behind. Very true.
And we were notified as well that as we currently have a look for incidents, that we've been notified that there's no incidents of notes to find either, so it only adds to the confusion here really as to what happened. He didn't get assigned any penalties. It was Clarkson who had the penalty inside the top 10. There were no others up there.
The only thing I can suggest is that he might have had too much fuel selected. And
Yeah, that's possible.
once it started, you can't stop it, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the case. He just filled the tank up, if you like. As you see Van Veen dealing with some lap traffic, so Tomlinson coming through there as well. The lights are on, it's starting to get very dark here at Oulton Park. I think by the time we get to the end of this race, we just about, it still might still be light enough to see all the cars, but I believe everyone will have their lights on. This is the battle for the lead of our AM Championship. Paduano looking for his first victory of the season. Machkowski also looking for their first victory of the season. Kieran Prendergast managed to get the win for the AMs last time out. He was leading this race, but unfortunately disconnected, we believe. So unfortunately not going to get that result. Wow. You see a potential move around the outside of turn number 3. I'm not sure that was the smartest of moves there from Machkowski. Paduano, if there's anywhere where you want them to go around the outside, it's there, because the camera and the circuit just completely drifted off to the right.
Yeah, you're just not going to find your way through, so he would have been more than happy to see that. I think Machkowski was hoping it would send Paduano a bit wide through Cascades and he could have a run at turn 4, but that didn't happen. And once again, as I said earlier on, you just got to wait for your chances. Just probe until there's a mistake, find some sort of opening, and then you've got to take your chances around here, because they do not come along very often. And so Machkowski is going to have to try again now and try and force a mistake in another way. I guess that's kind of what he was hoping for with that outside move of Cascades. He knows that realistically 9 times out of 10 it's not going to come to anything, but maybe it will. So it's worth giving it a go.
Yeah, you're right. You know, when you're as closely matched as the driver in front of you, you've kind of got to catch him off guard. And that certainly caught me off guard, so I would imagine it caught Paduano off guard as well. But Paduano will be happy that, you know, if you defend the inside around Oulton Park, you're pretty good, especially through turn number 3. Realistically now, it's just all about hitting your brake points and making sure that you don't slide on the exits of corners. Don't give that Aston Martin an opportunity. The longer this race goes on, the harder it becomes for the Aston. The tyres start to wear even more. Make that overtake stick. Down then towards turn 2 and 3 once again, 3 being the left-hander. This time round Machkowski not as close. Taking a nice open entry through turn 3. And maybe, just maybe, looking to make an opportunity through turn number 4. We've seen that happen once before. But I believe this battle will keep going right into the death.
I think so. Unless Machkowski gets through in the next 2 minutes or so, and then I reckon he'll get away. Can't see Paduano really coming back at the Apex 1 driver, if I'm honest. I think he's looked under pressure here, and Machkowski's just waiting for that error, and once he finds it, he'll get away.
Yeah, ironically, there was a bit of a mistake there from the AMG driver. Ran a little bit deep on the exit of the chicane, but Machkowski ran a little bit deep on entry. So they both kind of did different mistakes, and it ended up the same gap. So now 0.3 of a second between our second and third driver. Luciano Whitver, currently second in the pro class, 10.8 seconds behind third overall on track. And then Clarkson, who had that 5-second penalty, he's now served it, and now he's got a massive gap behind him with 16.5 seconds. Actually, Clarkson starting to catch up to Whitver. Again, won't make any difference whatsoever in terms of his championship. He will score as many points as he would do being behind or ahead of Whitver, because they're in different championships. But he may just want to get that position done just for the sake of it, really. Sudakar is still 7/10 behind Woodrow in 7th position. You've got Van Veen in 8th, which just made that lovely move on Tomlinson. And you've got Warner down in 10th position, who's basically on the recovery side. We believe he managed to change tyres by accident.
Yeah, and there are 4 places pretty close to him. I reckon 6th place could still be on the cards for Warner, and that would still be a podium place in Pro, although he's running out of time to do that. Only 1.9 seconds behind Tomlinson now, and then he's got to make the overtakes, and then there's another gap up to Sudakar, so it could be tricky for him to get up to 6th place, but that's what he can realistically hope for. There he is, and there's the cars he's chasing down, all in one shot. in one go there. 1.1 seconds. Do you feel like he's going to run out of time before he can make all these overtakes?
No, I think he will definitely run out of time. There's no chance of him getting anywhere near where he was. Realistically, what could Chris Warner do here? Nicky 7's on, for sure, and that will be a P4 overall in the class. And if he has changed tyres, he will be fine. So it should be relatively easy. He's got to deal with Tomlinson and Van Veen, who have had a lovely little battle between themselves for the last 5 laps now. Drive-through penalty for Revelation. So that's 2 drive-throughs for the day, and they are the winner in terms of penalties.
There's certainly been some candidates for that award over the course of the day.
Poor stewards today. They
Exactly, yeah.
Been
a
busy
busy day.
of HR.
Yeah, a bit of a busy day for them, but I mean that's to be expected around here. First of all, it's the opening round of a championship, which is always a bit more manic than all the others generally. But also the fact that it's Oulton Park is, of course, the traditional British GT opener, and I'm very sort of pleased that it is the opener for this as well. However, it does mean that Race Control have had some things to look at today, but they've done a good job so far from what I can see. I can't remember any penalties I disagreed with, actually.
Well, there's a lot of penalties. Certainly have their money today. The qualifying board has been absolutely obliterated, by the way. Warner with a turn 1 special. As they come through, gets squeezed onto the apex. A little bit of argy-bargy, but I think that was fair enough. Warner moves on past Tomlinson. Thompson tried to defend it, but again, found himself on the outside of turn 1, which is not really where you want to be. It's quite easy just to get shifted. If we come down in towards the second chicane and the back end of the circuit, and I tell you what, there's contact between the two of them, and I'm not sure really who's at fault there. We need to see that from the perspective. I think Matchkowski maybe in sort of a chase cam. Well, Paduano may have just turned in a space that wasn't really existing.
To be honest, I think Matchkowski was the one who broke too late there and got straight into the side of the Mercedes from that angle. For me, that was steaming into the corner, and there's a BMW who's has to get out of the way of these guys pretty quickly and does so. But that was, for me, Matchkowski making a dive that he didn't even make the corner himself for. Paduano didn't stand a chance from what I saw there, and from one teammate making a very good move at turn 1 where there was contact, but it was sort of, it was okay. It was a good move from Warner to his teammate not making such a good move. Here it is. He gets close. He's got to strike when there is a chance, and does, but yeah, he doesn't even make the corner himself.
Again, I still believe that I think that he's entitled to the space there. I think Paduano's turned in. I think he's far enough alongside for them to be able to fight side by side. Yeah, so that's my stance on it.
Steve, by the way, the reason I'm laughing, Steve not agreeing in my areas, but that's fine. Our opinions aren't the
means nothing. If we're going to be completely honest, our opinions mean absolutely nothing. We're just ones from
yes, we are.
Yeah, there's not many people that pay attention to my commentary, and I'm sure there's a few that just lost interest there as well.
Well, it's let us know what you think in the chat. We'll see how long that can go. We'll start arguing about that, but yeah. Anyway, we'll see what comes of that a bit later. I don't think anything's going to come of Warner's pass on Tomlinson, though. I think there was contact. There was room given by both there, I think.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I don't think we can disagree with that. It's a really nice move around Oulton Park to make things happen. You probably have to run the risk of a touch of contact. Yeah, for the most part, that was really, really nice. You see here another opportunity being made there by Matchkowski. Paduano then turns in. He had the right to do so that time round. As we see a move by Warner. And well, Van Veen, I think, may have just overextended a touch with the corner. Maybe a little bit ambitious to try and hold on to the position. And luckily, they're both still facing in the right direction. Normally, that kind of contact does mean both drivers end up spinning. So that's really nicely held there from Warner. Now he's got to try and catch up to Sunocal. He's got a bit of time. 10 minutes left on the clock, just under 10 minutes. Warner now needs to try and catch up to Sunocal. So I said he can potentially get himself a top 7 in this race. Well, he's got to now catch up 2 seconds in the next 9 minutes to do so. And we're actually seeing a replay here. So it's a really nice drive from Warner on the exit of our first chicane. He's going to be forced to go the long way around here. He's going to have to brake really deep. Swings it round the outside. Well, I'll tell you what, really beautifully done there. Then on the exit, it's obviously going to be a little bit slow. So he just keeps nose in there as Warner turns in. So I think that might be a bit of a 50-50 on that one. I think the Mercedes kept his nose in where it probably wasn't welcome, but I think Warner also needed to leave a bit of room as well. And that'll go down as a bit of a racing. I think thankfully they're both facing the right way. In all fairness, it's a lovely bit of driving for both.
Yeah, exactly. They're both still facing the right way. Nothing particularly wrong. Nothing particular. What am I looking for here? No particular wrongdoing. There we go. That's what I was searching. Is that even a phrase? Anyway,
Bless you.
they didn't do anything wrong, so they'll be fine. They won't finish 8th and 9th. Warner will look to go up further up the order, but Van Veen probably will finish 9th from here. You'd imagine the gap he's got to Tomlinson will be okay to the end now. But both Apex 1 drivers are on the move here. Warner now less than a second behind Supercar and Woodrow. And Maszkowski still looking for his way past Paduano for the AM race win.
Yeah, sorry for my giggle there. I'm just thinking, what we've seen already today, there's nothing wrong there. If we're going to compare it to the rest of the stuff, that's fine. That is absolutely perfect. Heading down then towards turn number 5. Maszkowski's still not able to find a gap to work with. We saw last time out through turns number 6 and 7 here coming up. He was able to get a really good exit compared to Mercedes in front. Again, he has been able to. I'm not sure he's going to be close enough though to get an overlap. Look at the gap closing down though. Down the hill we will come. And is this an opportunity then for Maszkowski? Decides against it, backs out of the move. Paduano is to fight one more day. One more.
Can he live for 7 more days with the 7 more minutes remaining here, because that's what we've got left of this second race in the evening, and that might just be a few minutes too much for Paduano to hang on, but he's done a good job so far. Throughout almost the entirety of the second half of the race, he's been able to hold off Maszkowski, and just 7 more minutes will do. And now what about Chris Warner behind Sudakar in towards the final chicane? There's the move from Maszkowski. That was more aggressive. That may well be a penalty.
Yeah, he's absolutely centred up the inside again. We'd have to see it from the same camera we saw it last time round. We really only caught the last bit of action there. Regardless, Paduano is just going to fall massively down the order. I predicted Warner the 30 minutes left to go in this race, Mark. The P7 was the maximum he could probably get. I felt like he could actually genuinely go and get it. But right now, Woodrow is also on the cards, isn't he? So a podium for Chris Warner is definitely on if he applies it well. And again, it's a mistake. I believe he's changed tyres, which is a bit of a mistake. He lost a significant amount of time, but that means that at this stage of the race he will be so much faster prepared. Here's a replay, so we're about to see it then, coming down towards that final corner, and he's centred up the inside. Again, can't really see too much from there. The Mercedes kind of hides what we want to see. There, whether he, the Mercedes turned across a bit too aggressively, whether Maszkowski didn't quite hit the apex. All we know right now is that Maszkowski is currently in second position.
Yeah, if Maszkowski's on the apex there and he's managed, he's hit his apex, his normal apex, then he's done nothing wrong. But if he's just braked even a little bit too late, even a metre too late, and he's just drifted from that apex on the inside, then he will be held responsible for Paduano going around, because he has actually dropped to 3rd as the driver of the Mercedes. This is the view from on board, and it will give us the idea as to whether he held the apex here.
Mercedes completely closed the door. In my opinion there, I will say that the Mercedes has completely closed the door, and I'm waiting with bated breath to hear as to whether Steve agrees with me. That's all I'm worried about at this point. But there's a lovely move there made by Warner on Sudakar. He moves up to P7, maybe looking to go up towards P6. But for me, I think that Paduano kind of got what he deserved there, attacked by turning in. He closed it.
It was a bit of a closing in manoeuvre from that angle, so it would be slightly difficult in that respect to penalise Maszkowski. I'm just disappointed that battle's come to an end in that way, really. I was hoping they'd have a nice side-by-side battle, but that's, 2 side-by-sides they've had now and 2 contacts as well, so maybe it was wishful thinking that that was ever going to be the case anyway. But it's just a shame that it's come to an end like that, really, and it might well be decided by the stewards afterwards. Real shame, really.
Elvin Smith, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you all, is in this race. Just a fair bit of time up the road. Really has just looked in complete control here. As I say that, there's a back marker off the track. That's not what you want to see. But yeah, was out the front with teammate Prendergast. Prendergast is disconnected from the server, we believe. But ultimately, it's been a pretty good performance from them.
Yes, he will. With oh dear, Chris Warner back here, and indeed being given that place by Woodrow. I'm not sure why, though. With 3.5 minutes to go, he's been let through there, but Woodrow decides that that's not worth fighting for.
No, that's a very odd decision there from Woodrow. Maybe Woodrow's got some issues. I don't know, maybe he really is struggling with the tyre wear, and just decided, you know what, no point
3
in fighting.
minutes.
Yeah, I know. I'm a commentator, mate. I can't comprehend why they make these decisions. The reason why I talk about the race is not actually yeah, I can't really give you We've got Trundley then, who is battling with Erdmann. We saw Erdmann earlier on battling at the sharp end, but unfortunately on lap 1 was facing the wrong way through turn number 3, and thus ruining his race. He's right down the back of the order because everyone's closing to lap 1. What Trundley is just trying to be dragged along 2 tenths of a second behind. I think Erdmann may have made that overtake, to be honest with you. This gap's already come out quite significant.
Yeah, Erdmann's pretty quick based on what we saw in the first race. Trundley's not slow by any means, but that McLaren has just not done so well around here. And by the way, just to clarify as well, it may well not be like this for the entirety of the season. Each individual round of the championship has an individual BOP based on the car's performance at each individual circuit. Of course, we're going 6 different places over the course of this season, so it's worth having 6 different BOPs for the different rounds, so it may well chop and change throughout with the Astons and Mercedes clearly favourable at Oulton Park. That could change next week.
No, that is a very good point indeed made there, Ewan. So yeah, expect this to be a little bit different. Obviously, we don't want BOP to be the effect as to why people win races, and that isn't the case here as well. But BOP is necessary, considering the cars are all very different shapes, very different engines, different components to the cars. So that's BOP needs to be there to make it even fun. We see multiple different manufacturers in that sharp end. So yeah, shout out to the organisers who put a lot of work in behind the scenes to make sure that it is nice and fair. It turns out if you chose the Aston Martin or the Mercedes, you were in pretty good shape today. In terms of the weather, changes, the circuit. The circuit is just one of those circuits where you need a car to be very nifty through the corners, very good over the curbs. The Aston and the Mercedes seem to be those choices, but we do go to different tracks, different characteristics. That for sure will be changing. Through the second chicane we go. 1 minute left on the clock. We've got 1.5 laps remaining then for Elvin Smith. It looks like he might be booking himself a top step off the podium in celebrations this evening.
Yeah, looks like he'd be the only driver, if I'm not mistaken, to be on the podium twice in Pro, based on the race 1 results as well. He was right
Warner
up there, of course.
Yeah.
Oh no, Warner's there now as well, isn't he? Sorry. No, he's got to 3rd place. But the gap between those two won't be very large at all at the end of one race. I think we're starting to see who our protagonists for the championship may well be, even after the opening round, although I'll say things can change very quickly round to round, not only with the cars, but these drivers as well. There may well be a circuit that these drivers really is not a fan of.
Yeah, I think the AM one might be a little bit more wide open, but I think there's enough we've seen today to suggest that we're going to have a very, very cool championship on our hands for this season. British GT Esports Cup 2024, brought to you by Simracing.GP and Motorsport UK. Yeah, a fair few races left to go in the series. 6 races in total, 5 events. I think we're going to have a pretty good season.
Yeah, we certainly are. And it's all going to be sort of, you're not going to have to wait long for the races in between either. I think there's only 1 week off in the next 6 or 7 for this series, so that's fantastic news. It means that every race is sort of very quickly after the other, and yeah, you don't have to wait long for Silverstone coming up.
No, certainly not. A lot of curb being taken there by Elvin. I think he's decided to have a little bit of fun around the final few corners of this circuit. It could have been a race win in the first race, but unfortunately was involved with Klaassen at the hairpin midway through the race, or in the second stint. That put pain to a potential race victory. His teammate has managed to get a victory in the AM class today, Kieran Prendergast, who unfortunately is disconnected from the server in race number 2. But we've come to race number 2. The race winner for race 1 was Chris Warner, but this time the race belongs, and the checkered flag belongs to Elvin Smith. Race winner, British GT Esports Cup 2024, and with that result, with Chris Warner finishing in 3rd, will take the lead of the championship heading into the 3rd rounds. Here's Krzysztof Maczkowski then, who will finish in second and a race winner in his own right in the AM Championship. Again, it got a little bit fruity with him and Paduano, but I don't think he's done a lot wrong with that overtake, and he will pick up a win in the AM class as well. Congratulations to him. We've got Luciano Whitver, who, again, I think the patience game played out really well for him today. He was in a position where he could have made it 3 wide through turn number 4, decided against it, and realistically, that patience paid off. P2 for him. Clark is going to get P2 in the AM. Paduano, P3 in the AMs, and the final podium spot today will belong to our race winner from the Pro Series in race number 1. It is Chris Warner. May have made a little bit of a mistake with the strategy call in this race, but ultimately still big points towards his championship hunt. And I believe he'll be second in the championship heading into round number 3. There we go, Ewan. 2 races done in the books. Looks like Elvin Smith is going to be our championship leader. And again, for the AMs, I'm not sure who's going to be the championship leader. It would have been Paduano, but I guess it would be Maczkowski heading into round number 3.
It can be tricky to work out is what it's going to be, but we'll obviously figure that out as we go along. As we get close towards the end of the season as well, we'll start to take a bit more of a focus on that with the final rounds coming up. But yeah, a good way to start the season, certainly. Been very enjoyable indeed. And what more could you expect from Oulton Park? I've been impressed with the amount of side-by-side racing we've been able to get as well. I know the weather's helped in the first race, but didn't have any in the second race, and there was still a lot going on.
Yeah, obviously we've seen some mistakes today, and we've seen some incidents, but I would say the meaningful overtakes that we've seen today have been very respectful and bodes well. It really does bode well for the rest of the championship, considering some of the overtaking possibilities we have got coming up. Of course, we've got Silverstone next up. We've got Spa coming up. Donington should be pretty good as well for that. So there are plenty of places where we will see some overtaking, but there are some technical variants as well. Well, here is the calendar. As you can see then, so we had our 2 races at Oulton Park that's done and dusted. Next time out, we've got a 3-hour race. That's next week, the Silverstone 500. Donington Park then will be our 3rd venture, which is a 1 times 2-hour race. That's going to be February the 17th. Then we head to Spa-Francorchamps with a 2-hour race as well, the same format as Donington. And then we have 2 times 1-hour races at Snetterton on March the 9th. And then we head to the climax of the championship with a week break between the second to last and last. We head to Brands Hatch, March the 16th for 1 2-hour race. Oh, unbelievable stuff there. What's your final thoughts then, Ewan? That was a pretty good one from me. I think I really enjoyed that, especially the first race. I think if anything could have happened, it did. Everything happened, to be honest, in the end. And then the second race was a little bit more placid, but I think we really have got a nice foundation to build on this championship.
Yeah, we certainly have. Very much looking forward to this second round and the next 5 rounds, indeed, of this championship. Great foundation to build from. Great racing tonight. And we've really learned who our names to watch are from Oulton Park. But there's still plenty of people who had some bad luck here tonight who will be looking to come back again next week and do a little better at Silverstone, which is such a different racetrack to this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It doesn't look like... Oh, just at the death. It looks like we have got ourselves an interview. So let's bring in Elvin then to the commentary box, although he's now just disappeared again. So maybe not. We'll give him, I don't know, let's give him 10 seconds to rejoin. If not, we'll wrap up. Again, a very good performance from him. We'll be the championship leader heading into the next round, which is next week at Silverstone for a 3-hour race. And well, yes, we do have him. As if by magic, he has managed to rejoin. So let's bring him into the commentary box for a little chat after that very nice performance in race number 2. So race number 1, it could have been a race win for you, Elvin. It wasn't quite. Unfortunately, there was a Mercedes that decided that they wanted to make a mistake and come across and have a bit of fun with the 2 green Aston Martins. But race 2, you absolutely put that to rights with a very comprehensive victory. How are you feeling?
Not bad. It could have been a lot cleaner, I'll say that. Especially race 1. Race 1 was, I mean, it was questionable on what some drivers done, but I'm not saying any names. But yeah, race 2, it was unlucky for Prenta, getting disconnected. I think on lap 3, there was nothing you could do about that. But yeah, I mean, race 2 was pretty easy. I mean, I don't know how I gained so much time in the pits as well. I gained like 16 seconds in the pits, so like 14 seconds. so I don't know what happened there. But yeah, apart from that, pretty decent. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. Elvin, what are you expecting from the rest of the season now? 5 rounds still to go. What are you expecting and hoping for?
I'd want to win every single race. So that's the perfect championship. I mean, and looking at the pace as well, I don't know how the Aston will change depending on the track. I know the Aston's quite good in the wet regardless of track, but depending on the track, we'll have to see where the pace is compared to Mercedes and other cars. But yeah, I think points wise, I can't remember how the points work, but I think we basically need to get 1-2 in the majority of the races to get the team championship now. With Prenter disconnecting, I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, would love to win every race, like genuinely, or 1-2 at least. So
Yeah, I think a 1-2 for the majority of the championship will put you in pretty good stead. I'm not going to lie.
yeah,
You get 119 points for a race victory. So that's exactly how many you get. So who would you say is your biggest competitor heading into the rest of the rounds, based off today?
my teammate. I don't know. I mean, it changed depending on the conditions. Like in the wet, I'd say the Mercedes was it was not bad in the wet. I think in the dry it wasn't 100% there. I think we have better tire wear as well than them. But yeah, it was different people between both races, so I couldn't quite say like from anyone else. But in the same car, it'd be Prenter for sure. You know, I'd like to be the one in the 1-2. So.
Well, nice one. Congratulations then on your race victory and actually taking us into round 3 with the lead in the championship. So congratulations, and we'll see you at Silverstone next week.
Right, sweet. Looking forward to it.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, hearing from the man himself. Right, well, it's Oulton Park done and dusted. We head to Silverstone next time out. My name has been Luke Crane. I've been joined by Ewan O'Leary. Hopefully you've had fun, Ewan. Yeah,
absolutely. It's been a great round. Can't wait for next week.
Yeah, and we'll catch you at Silverstone next week. Take care.
And he gets past all of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this. And onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.